Buzz, buzz, buzz. Stepping into the grand formation, a sense of dizziness immediately assaulted him, disorienting him, with only a hazy grayness before his eyes. This is a fourth-order soul-confusing trap. If one doesn't know the formation's operating rules and core, even a fourth-order Xuan-level martial artist will be trapped within, unable to discern direction, and be slowly killed inside. It seems that among these 5 northwestern nations, there should be a fourth-order peak formation master. Within the formation, Qin Chen's mind was tranquil and extremely calm. With his abilities, if he wanted to, he could completely break this formation, at most taking a little more time due to his cultivation level. The dizziness only lasted a few seconds before the scene before him suddenly brightened. A refreshing fragrance instantly rushed into Qin Chen's nose. With a slight inhale, the speed of true qi circulation within Qin Chen's body suddenly increased, and every cell in his body was cheering. Looking around, the scene before him was a white, misty expanse. With the naked eye, he could only see 2 or 3 meters ahead. Here, perception was also limited. Spiritual power, like the naked eye, could only observe a distance of several meters ahead. Around him, apart from Qin Chen, there was no one else. Within this soul-confusing trap, there should also be a misalignment formation. All the martial artists who enter it will be misaligned to different locations, and they won't encounter each other. The blood spirit pool requires entering naked. Considering everyone's privacy, the 5 northwestern nations, when setting up this soul-confusing trap, also arranged a misalignment formation. Taking 2 steps forward, before him was a milky white pool. Only the rocks at the edge of the pool were blood red, which is why it was called the blood spirit pool. The pool was circular, and in the mist, its size was unknown. The milky white pool water constantly emitted a misty aura. What Qin Chen had inhaled earlier was precisely the mist emanating from this blood spirit pool. Just a little bit of mist made the true qi in his body so restless. What would happen if he entered the pool water? It really is spirit marrow liquid. These 5 northwestern nations actually possess a spirit marrow liquid pool. Seeing the appearance of the pool, Qin Chen's pupils suddenly shrank, revealing a look of ecstasy. He didn't expect that the so-called blood spirit pool of the 5 northwestern nations would actually be spirit marrow liquid. Spirit marrow liquid is a powerful medicinal liquid that can transform a martial artist's physical body. Even in the martial domain, it is incredibly valuable and is a priceless treasure. Previously, when Qin Chen heard that he had to enter naked, he already had some guesses. Now that the guess was confirmed, the excitement in his heart was unprecedented. With this spirit marrow liquid, Feng Xiaoyu, Shangguan Xie, you wait. I, Qin Chen, will one day surpass you and take back everything I've lost. Removing his clothes, Qin Chen walked into the pool water. Qi. The instant his feet were submerged in the pool water, a burst of intense pain was transmitted, as if his skin was being corroded. That intense pain rapidly spread throughout Qin Chen's body along his blood vessels. Although spirit marrow liquid can transform the physical body, the entire process is incomparably painful and absolutely not something ordinary people can endure. In the martial domain, there was once a 9 heavens martial emperor who found a pool of spirit marrow liquid for his young son, wanting to transform his young son's physical body. As a result, his young son couldn't withstand the pain and actually died in the spirit marrow liquid, becoming a laughingstock. Therefore, after entering the blood spirit pool, one must pay attention. Once one can't hold on, one needs to leave the pool water immediately and not force it. Otherwise, there will be a danger to one's life. These precautions have been warned and explained in advance by the experts of the major forces. HMPH. The pool water submerged his calves. After only 2 steps, a muffled groan was faintly heard in the distance. Clearly, someone couldn't bear the pain after entering the blood spirit pool. Following that, one muffled groan after another was heard. These martial artists endured the pain and entered the blood spirit pool. Splash. Splash. The water rippled, and one could feel that on the edges of the blood spirit pool around, martial artists were entering the pool one after another. However, because of the isolation of the white mist, they couldn't see each other, but they could feel each other's presence. Ugh. Ah. Some martial artists couldn't bear the pain and groaned in pain. One by one, they hurriedly sat down cross-legged, hastily circulating the true qi in their bodies to resist the impact of the energy in the spirit marrow liquid. However, once true qi is used to resist, the speed at which the energy in the spirit marrow liquid enters the body will plummet, which is actually more harmful than beneficial to the transformation of the body. Only by opening one's mind and body and allowing the energy in the spirit marrow liquid to enter the body's internal organs, every cell, and every pore can the transformation of the physical body be maximized. Qin Chen's endurance is the strongest. He clearly felt the energy in the spirit marrow liquid slowly pouring into his body, entering the capillaries from the pores, then entering the muscles, meridians, and blood, and finally being transported to every part of his body. Every cell in his body began to itch and become painful. That was a transformation. The baptism of the spirit marrow liquid is about seeing who can absorb the most energy. The more energy absorbed, the stronger the physical body will become. Such a good opportunity must not be wasted. Qin Chen thought to himself, taking step after step towards the center of the blood spirit pool. The pool water gradually submerged Qin Chen's body. Calves, thighs, waist, chest. The deeper one goes into the blood spirit pool, the higher the concentration of spirit marrow liquid contained in the blood spirit pool, and the more parts of the body are in contact with the pool water, the greater the intensity of the pain. When it reached his chest, cold sweat oozed from Qin Chen's forehead, his face was pale, and his body trembled. Every part of his body felt as if countless red-hot needles were constantly piercing out. And as the energy of the spirit marrow liquid entered the body, the pain of those myriad needles piercing out was also transmitted to the body's internal organs. Huff, huff, gasping for breath, Qin Chen circulated the undying sacred body. The pain at this time was still a bit less than when he first cultivated the undying sacred body. Sensing it, the concentration of spirit marrow liquid at this depth was at least twice as high as before. In other words, the efficiency of absorbing spirit marrow liquid here is twice as fast as in the shallower areas. At the same time, the deeper he went, the mist above the spirit marrow liquid was slowly decreasing, and the distance visible to the naked eye was much farther. Although the concentration here is not low, it is still some distance away from my limit. Qin Chen muttered to himself. Splash, splash. Just then, a sound of water suddenly came from behind. Someone was slowly approaching. I didn't expect that someone among the 5 nations could reach this place. Qin Chen was stunned. To be able to reach this place, the strength of one's physical body must be at least close to the heaven level. Coming back to his senses, Qin Chen continued to walk deeper, gradually disappearing into the white mist. Not long after Qin Chen disappeared, a figure appeared in the place where Qin Chen had disappeared. This person's face was pale, he gritted his teeth, and his eyes were proud, like a rock soaring through the 9 heavens. It was Qin Feng. Getting here is pretty much my current limit. I must rest for a while, and after I adapt, I will go to a deeper place. Muttering painfully, Qin Feng immediately began to cultivate in this spirit marrow liquid, which was twice as concentrated. Hoo. A large amount of spiritual marrow liquid energy entered his body, transforming Qin Feng's physical body. Qin Feng clearly felt his physical body improving at a speed visible to the naked eye. Excellent. For these past few months, I've been suppressing my cultivation, refraining from breaking through to the heaven level. This blood spirit pool truly hasn't disappointed me, actually allowing my physical body, which had already reached its limit, to improve once again. Qin Feng was overjoyed. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the late Earth level stage several months ago, and his physical body strength was the same, unable to advance even a fraction further. He didn't expect that shortly after entering the blood spirit pool, his physical body would actually improve again, causing him to be ecstatic. Not long after, the sound of water came again from the blood spirit pool. At this time, the geniuses of the major forces arrived at this depth one after another. Seeing that someone was already here, these geniuses all paused with a glint in their eyes. Who is this person? Nian Wuji coldly shouted, his brow furrowed. Someone actually arrived at this deep pool area before him, which was simply unforgivable. This person was in the Great Qi Kingdom's team just now. He should be Qin Feng, who is known as the #1 genius of the Great Qi Kingdom. Cao Heng, the third prince of the Great Wei Kingdom, approached and said, Qin Feng, the number one genius of the Great Qi Kingdom, isn't that the fourth prince Zhao Wei? Nian Wuji frowned. No. Cao Heng's eyes were cold, like a lone wolf, filled with hatred. The number one genius of the Great Qi Kingdom is this person named Qin Feng. This person's true identity is the grandson of Qin Baishan, the Dingwu king of the Great Qi Kingdom. Speaking of Qin Baishan, the hatred in Cao Heng's tone was unprecedented. The Great Wei Kingdom and the Great Qi Kingdom have been at war for years. As the military god of the Great Qi Kingdom, Qin Baishan is stationed on the border all year round. No less than 1 million soldiers of the Great Wei Kingdom have been slaughtered by him, creating a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Therefore, the most hated person by all the citizens of the Great Wei Kingdom is not Zhao Gao, the king of the Great Qi Kingdom, but Qin Baishan, the Dingwu king of the Great Qi Kingdom, who is known as the military god in the Great Qi Kingdom. What Dingwu king Qin Baishan, this son dares to steal my limelight, he is just courting death. Nian Wuji had never heard of Qin Baishan's name, he only knew that Qin Feng had stolen his limelight, and he was extremely annoyed. Boom! A surge of energy swept out, and the calm pool surface suddenly surged. Nian Wuji walked towards Qin Feng with murderous intent on his face. Nian Wuji, this place is the blood spirit pool, it is not suitable to take action. There will be opportunities to teach him a lesson in the future. If you accidentally trigger the formation because of taking action and are teleported out, it would be a big loss. Cao Heng's expression changed, and he hurriedly stopped Nian Wuji. This Nian Wuji is really lawless, he dares to take action even in the blood spirit pool. Buzz. Sure enough, sensing the abnormality in the blood spirit pool, an invisible force of formation fluctuated, forcing Nian Wuji to restrain his aura. HMPH. I'll spare this kid for now, he'll be in for a treat when we get out. With a cold snort, Nian Wuji suppressed his anger and began to cultivate in this blood spirit pool area with twice the concentration. Cao Heng breathed a sigh of relief and wiped his forehead. The people of the Ghost Immortal sect are indeed all lunatics. Not far away, Li Mengbai and others from the Great Zhao Kingdom watched this scene, their faces expressionless. Those who can come here are all top geniuses among the 5 kingdoms. Knowing that time is precious, they all endured the pain and began to cultivate with difficulty in this area with twice the concentration. As for geniuses like Zhang Yi, they can only cultivate in the 1.5 times concentration area at most. And Li Qingfeng can only cultivate in the outermost area. At this time, Qin Chen had already arrived at the area with 5 times the concentration of the blood spirit pool. Chi. The concentration of the blood spirit pool here is terrifyingly strong. Qin Chen felt severe pain all over his body, and every cell seemed to be torn apart. The pain index even exceeded that of when he was cultivating the undying saint body. But the effect is also amazing. A trace of spiritual marrow liquid energy poured into his body. As soon as this trace of energy entered Qin Chen's body, Qin Chen immediately felt that his internal organs, blood, meridians, muscles, bones, and even every cell suddenly emitted an extremely urgent sound. That feeling was like a person who had been hungry for several days seeing a table full of delicacies, fine wines, and delicacies. There was a feeling of wanting to devour it impatiently. When that trace of energy entered the body, every cell in Qin Chen's body was wriggling, frantically devouring these energies in the process of tearing apart. This is the place. Gritting his teeth, Qin Chen couldn't make any sound anymore. His spirit was tense, fearing that he would faint with a single carelessness. Gudong. Sinking hard into the spiritual marrow liquid, Qin Chen immersed his head in the pool water. The violent energy began to tear apart the skin on Qin Chen's face. Qin Chen's eyes instantly went blind, he couldn't see anything anymore, his eardrums also ruptured, he couldn't hear anything, and even the skin all over his body began to be corroded. But Qin Chen remained motionless, like a rock, sinking in the depths of this spiritual marrow liquid, his whole body, from the inside to the outside, every cell was undergoing transformation. Qin Chen's physical body strength began to improve at an alarming rate. No one knows that only by immersing the whole body in the spiritual marrow liquid can one get the greatest transformation. If it is only physical contact, then the improvement of the physical body is only superficial. An hour later, finally, a warrior was the first to be unable to support himself and withdrew from the blood-spirit pool. This was a warrior in the middle stage of the Earth level, 23 years old, from the Great Song Kingdom. As soon as he left the blood-spirit pool, the pain on his body quickly disappeared, and his skin was as smooth as jade, as if he had been reborn. At the same time, an extremely rich power began to grow in his body. After coming out of the blood-spirit pool, you must cultivate as soon as possible to transform all the energy absorbed in the blood-spirit pool. The words of the kingdom's strongman's warning before entering the blood-spirit pool echoed in his mind, and he quickly sat cross-legged on the shore and began to transform the energy in the blood-spirit pool. Time passed by every minute and every second. Suddenly and M-. Boom. A shocking aura rose from him. Opening his eyes, this person's eyes were full of shock. I actually broke through so quickly, and directly broke through to the peak of the late Earth level. With a face full of shock, this person could hardly believe his eyes. From the middle stage of the Earth level, breaking through to the peak of the late Earth level in one fell swoop, what kind of speed is this? If it were in the outside world, I'm afraid it would take several years to do it at all. But here, in just over an hour, he completed such a transformation. Can I still absorb it? Standing up, he looked at the blood-spirit pool in front of him with fiery eyes. Previously, his cultivation was low, so he only persisted for an hour before being forced to withdraw from the blood-spirit pool. If he absorbs it again, it is not impossible to step into the heaven level in one fell swoop. Taking 2 steps forward, he was about to enter the blood-spirit pool again when suddenly a force of formation attacked. Before he could react, his figure had already disappeared at the edge of the blood-spirit pool. In the blood-spirit pool, anyone can only absorb it once. Once you withdraw, you cannot enter again. Following this, more and more martial artists reached their limit in the blood-spirit pool and emerged, each sitting down cross-legged. The aura around them rapidly transformed, and booming sounds echoed one after another as they consecutively broke through. Among them, almost half of the people broke through a rank after entering the blood-spirit pool. Even those who didn't break through experienced an astonishing improvement in their physical strength. Afterward, they were successively transported out of the blood-spirit pool area. How is it? What are your gains? Outside the blood-spirit pool, the powerhouses of various forces inquired one after another. Reporting, Lord, my physical strength has broken through from 30 horses power to 40 horses power. The amount of true chi in my body has also doubled. This disciple has broken through from the intermediate stage of the Earth realm to the late stage of the Earth realm in one fell swoop. The various geniuses reported one after another. Many powerhouses revealed satisfied expressions, their eyes filled with anticipation. Those who have come out now are all those with a weaker foundation. Such improvement can be considered quite good. But what they truly anticipate are the top geniuses of their respective forces. You must know that the blood-spirit pool is very magical. The longer one stays inside, the more blood-spirit pool power one absorbs, and the stronger one's future achievements will be. Generally, 2 to 6 hours is a threshold. Those who come out within this time can only be considered to have average talent. 6 to 12 hours is the second threshold, indicating decent talent. Exceeding 1 day is the third threshold. Those who can stay for a full day generally represent limitless potential in the future. In the previous blood-spirit pool baptism, the strongest genius stayed in the blood-spirit pool for a full day and a half before finally being unable to hold on. Ultimately, he won the championship of that 5 nations grand competition. And this time, who will be the one to persevere until the end? Everyone was looking forward to it. On the side of the Great Qi Kingdom, Spirit Marshal King Xiao Zhan was also secretly paying attention, wanting to see the performance of this generation of geniuses. This blood-spirit pool baptism, His Majesty changed his usual practice and allowed Qin Chen and the other 3 who had just graduated from Tianxing Academy to enter the blood-spirit pool. To be honest, these 4 have talent and their strength is not weak, but they are still too young. It is possible that someone will not be able to hold on for long. However, the result was quite unexpected for Xiao Zhan. The first one to be eliminated was actually Li Qingfeng. Moreover, he persevered for a full 3 hours before finally being eliminated. Lord Xiao Zhan. With a face full of joy, Li Qingfeng came to the Great Qi Kingdom's team, his face full of confidence. At this time, he was surrounded by surging true Qi, and his cultivation had already broken through from the initial stage of the Earth Realm to the intermediate stage of the Earth Realm, and he was not even far from the peak of the intermediate stage of the Earth Realm. He could be described as high-spirited. Back then, after being defeated by Qin Chen in the Tianxing Academy's year-end exam, Li Qingfeng suffered a great setback. These days, he had been in closed-door training, just to be able to defeat Qin Chen and regain his own glory. Now, after the blood spirit pool baptism, his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds, and his strength was more than twice as strong as before. He had a premonition that if he fought Qin Chen again, he would definitely be able to defeat him in minutes. Where are Qin Chen and the others? Therefore, as soon as he returned to the team, Li Qingfeng cupped his fists at Xiao Zhan and began to search for Qin Chen's figure. But who knew? He looked around, but did not see Qin Chen's figure, and his heart suddenly skipped a beat. Could it be? Qin Chen and the others haven't come out yet. You are the first one from my Great Qi Kingdom to come out of the blood spirit pool, not bad. You have actually broken through to the intermediate stage of the Earth Realm. However, the blood spirit pool power in your body has not been completely absorbed. It is best to seize the time to refine all the remaining blood spirit pool power in your body and transform it into your own strength. Otherwise, the effect of your blood spirit pool baptism will be greatly reduced, Xiao Zhan said. What? Qin Chen and the others haven't come out of the blood spirit pool yet. Xiao Zhan's words immediately made Li Qingfeng feel as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. His eyes widened. The longer one stays in the blood spirit pool, the higher one's talent. He had persevered desperately before, thinking that he could rank first among the 4 geniuses of Tianxing Academy, but who knew that he didn't see a single figure coming out. Not to mention Qin Chen, even Zhao Lingshan and even Wang Qiming had not come out of the blood spirit pool. This. Li Qingfeng suffered a huge blow in his heart. We both entered the blood spirit pool for the first time. Why is there such a big gap? Li Qingfeng felt incredible, and his self-confidence was severely hit. What is being competed in the blood spirit pool is actually every martial artist's will. The stronger the willpower, the more pain one can endure that others cannot, and the longer one can persevere. He thought that his willpower was very firm, and he persevered for a full 3 hours before coming out, but who would have thought that he would be the weakest of the 4? I don't believe it. They won't last much longer than me. They will definitely come out soon. Li Qingfeng gritted his teeth, his eyes unwilling. An hour passed. Another hour passed. People from various forces were constantly being eliminated, but on the Great Qi Kingdom's side, there was still only Li Qingfeng. This is impossible. Li Qingfeng felt incredible. He had only persisted for 3 hours. Qin Chen and the others had similar cultivation to him, or even weaker than him. How could they persist for so long? By the 6th hour, someone from the Great Qi Kingdom finally couldn't hold on anymore. Lord Xiao Zhan. That figure walked out of the hazy formation. This person's true qi was surging all over his body. At this time, he had already reached the peak of the late stage of the Earth Realm, only one step away from the Heaven Realm. Even some of his true qi already had the meaning of the Heaven Realm in it. It's actually Zhang Yi. How could it be him? Li Qingfeng had a dazed look on his face, his eyeballs almost popped out. In terms of cultivation, Qin Chen, Zhao Lingshan, and Wang Qiming were all weaker than Zhang Yi. According to normal reasoning, Zhang Yi would definitely persist longer than the 3 of them, but now Qin Chen and the others wouldn't have died inside, right? Li Qingfeng muttered, unable to help but say. Xiao Zhan on the side raised his eyebrows and also revealed a worried look. This was not impossible. Although the blood spirit pool was a huge opportunity, it also contained huge risks. Martial artists who entered it for baptism had to retreat at the first sign of being unable to hold on. Otherwise, they were likely to faint inside, and then be destroyed by the violent blood spirit pool power and die inside. This was something that the powerhouses of any force would warn the disciples about when they entered it. But every year, there were still some martial artists who did not listen to advice and eventually died inside. Now, according to reason, Qin Chen, Zhao Lingshan, and Wang Qiming should have come out long ago, but they had not come out until now. Then, as Li Qingfeng said, there was a certain possibility that the three of them had already died inside. Thinking of this, Xiao Zhan's heart suddenly contracted, and he felt a burst of worry. Ha ha, Xiao Zhan, could it be that those few young geniuses from your great Qi kingdom are already dead? Yu Chicheng suddenly sneered, his face full of mockery. This immediately attracted the attention of many people. I remember that the great Qi kingdom did bring a few young geniuses this time. Why has only one come out so far? Now it has been 6 hours since the blood spirit pool opened. Which of those who can still persist is not a master at the late stage of the Earth realm? Those few young geniuses from the great Qi kingdom, I remember their cultivation was only at the early stage of the Earth realm, right? Could they really be dead inside? The crowd clicked their tongues, unable to help but exclaim in surprise. If the few young geniuses from the great Qi kingdom really died inside, that would be too exaggerated and would immediately become a laughing stock for the northwestern kingdoms. Humph, you don't need to worry about it, Yu Chicheng. You should worry more about the geniuses of your own great Wei kingdom. The geniuses of my great Qi kingdom are exceptionally talented and are still receiving baptism in the blood spirit pool. How can the geniuses of your great Wei kingdom compare? Xiao Zhan coldly retorted. Ha 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 ha, you're still being stubborn at this time. Yu Chicheng sneered, still exceptionally talented. The blood spirit pool has been open for so long. In history, there have only been a handful of geniuses at the early stage of the Earth realm who could persist for 6 hours. I think you should prepare the coffins early, ha 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 ha. The people from the Great Wei Kingdom all laughed loudly. Xiao Zhan snorted coldly, his face turning livid, and he stopped speaking. However, in his heart, he was extremely nervous. Ling Shan, Qin Chen, Wang Qiming, you must not have anything happen to you. Clenching his fists, Xiao Zhan's heart was filled with worry. At this time, inside the blood spirit pool, the geniuses in the low-level area had already been eliminated one after another. In the high-level area, Qin Feng and the others still showed no signs of moving. Those who could come to this place were all the most top-notch geniuses of the major forces, and they were all extremely proud in their hearts, unwilling to fall behind others. Seeing that no one was leaving, they all gritted their teeth secretly, competing with each other in the dark, engaging in an invisible competition. Suddenly, the sound of flowing water came from the low-level area, constantly approaching. The people who were absorbing the blood spirit pool could not help but open their eyes, their faces full of doubt. At this time, there are still people coming to the high-level area. The geniuses who could reach the high-level area should have arrived long ago, and the geniuses who could not reach the high-level area have almost been eliminated. It's too strange that they're only coming now, right? In the thin mist, a figure slowly appeared in front of everyone. Wang Qiming. Seeing the person who came, the fourth prince and Qin Feng's pupils shrank suddenly. It was Wang Qiming, who came from the great Qi kingdom with them. How is that possible? How could this kid reach here? Qin Feng had a deep impression of Wang Qiming. Back in the palace, he had blasted the other party away with just his aura. Could such a waste also come to the high-level area? What a joke. This kid is only at the early stage of the Earth realm, right? He can actually come to the high-level area too. Damn it, is this still human? A 16 or 17-year-old Earth realm martial artist can actually persist for so long. Everyone was almost crazy. Each of them had worked hard and gritted the teeth to persist for so long, and they were almost unable to hold on. A young man who was obviously 4 or 5 years younger than him could actually persist until now. Each of them suffered a great blow in their hearts. Facing the astonished gazes of the crowd, Wang Qiming pursed his lips tightly, ignored everyone present, and began to cultivate directly after arriving in the high-level area. Gurgle. The high concentration of blood spirit pool liquid in the high-level area constantly corroded his body, but Wang Qiming gritted his teeth and supported himself desperately. At this time, he was full of gratitude to Qin Chen. If Qin Chen hadn't allowed him to comprehend the intent of the blade, he would have probably been eliminated long ago. Young Master Chen, don't worry, I went through hardships to get to this point, I won't let you down. Flames seemed to be burning in his eyes. Wang Qiming's figure was like a rock, standing still. 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours. In the blink of an eye, a whole day had passed. Finally, some people in the high-level area began to be unable to hold on. One genius after another, with reluctance, returned to the shore to cultivate and break through. Only some of the most top-notch geniuses were still struggling to support themselves. At this time, located in the 5 time zone, Qin Chen, who had sunk to the bottom of the blood spirit pool, suddenly opened his eyes. Buzz, as if 2 beams of electric light burst out from his eyes. It's too incredible. In my previous life, I only heard about the effects of the spirit marrow liquid. I didn't expect this spirit marrow liquid to be so exquisite. Feeling the changes in his body, Qin Chen was a little unbelievable. The spirit marrow liquid has great destructive power, but also amazing healing power. His eyes were blinded by the terrifying power as soon as he entered the blood spirit pool, but after cultivation, they were healed instead, and at the same time, the strength of his eyes was at least several times stronger than before. Not only my 5 senses, but my physical body is at least several times stronger than before. My strength has also increased from 50 horses of power to at least 1 or 200 horses of power, and my bloodline power has also been transformed. My defensive power has also reached its limit, and even my mental power has broken through to the 2nd level. Qin Chen was secretly shocked. In his previous life, although he had heard of the spirit marrow liquid, he had never really experienced it, because the effect of the spirit marrow liquid was only effective for martial artists below the mysterious level. Once martial artists above the mysterious level absorb it, the terrifying power of the spirit marrow will not only fail to increase the strength of the physical body, but will also damage the meridians in the martial artist's body, turning him into a cripple. At the same time, the spirit marrow liquid also has age requirements. Martial artists over the age of 30 have fixed meridians and physical bodies, and cannot absorb it. This is also the reason why Xiao Zhan and other powerful people from various kingdoms do not enter the blood spirit pool for baptism. The power of the spirit marrow liquid in my body is almost enough. Generally, places with spirit marrow pools often have spirit marrow crystals. That is a treasure even more precious than spirit marrow liquid, and it cannot be wasted. Swinging his legs, Qin Chen swam towards the deeper part of the spirit marrow pool. Generally, places where spirit marrow liquid is born will have spirit marrow crystals. This thing is called the source of spirit marrow, and it is the root of the production of spirit marrow liquid. Each spirit marrow crystal can continuously produce spirit marrow liquid, which is a priceless treasure even in the martial domain and is rarely seen. Sure enough, after arriving at the depths of the spirit marrow pool, Qin Chen found a milky white crystal at the extremely deep bottom of the pool. There really is a spirit marrow crystal. Qin Chen was overjoyed, picked up the spirit marrow crystal, and put it into his storage ring. Next, he found 2 more spirit marrow crystals at the bottom of the pool. At this time, the concentration of spirit marrow liquid here has reached 10 times that of the outermost area, which is the most core area of the spirit marrow pool. It is impossible for such a large spirit marrow pool to have only these few spirit marrow crystals. There should be more. Just as Qin Chen was about to continue moving forward, a formation fluctuation suddenly appeared in front of him, blocking his path. It was the 4th order bewildering soul trapping formation. Annoying. Shaking his head, Qin Chen was speechless. With this 4th order bewildering soul trapping formation, did they think they could stop him from searching for spirit marrow crystals? Spiritual power spread, and Qin Chen instantly found several loopholes in the bewildering soul trapping formation and passed through. Sure enough, on the other side of the bewildering soul trapping formation, Qin Chen found several more spirit marrow crystals. A total of 8 were found. Sensing the 8 spirit marrow crystals in the storage ring, Qin Chen was delighted and subconsciously drilled out of the pool. A crisp and melodious female voice, like a celestial being, instantly entered Qin Chen's ears. How can there be a woman here? Hearing this voice, Qin Chen was stunned. Wasn't this the place for the blood spirit pool baptism? Upon entering the blood spirit pool, men and women must enter naked, so the entrances for men and women are completely different, and they will be assigned to 2 different areas. But the soft shout just now was clearly a woman's voice, and it was incredibly pleasant to hear. That's not right. Suddenly, Qin Chen seemed to realize something and reacted abruptly. When he was searching for spirit marrow crystals at the bottom of the pool earlier, he seemed to have unintentionally passed through a formation. Could he have arrived at the place where women cultivate? Thinking of this, Qin Chen instantly felt a headache. It was already too late to sink back into the water. Then, a rustling sound came out, and from the other side of the mist, a beautiful face appeared in front of Qin Chen. This was a young girl of 18 or 19 years old, with willow leaf eyebrows, a delicate oval face, and extremely beautiful. A head of smooth black hair cascaded down to the surface of the pool, giving people a strong visual impact. Looking closely, her skin was like congealed fat, fair and jade-like. Below her delicate collarbones, 2 mounds of white jade rose, making one's blood boil. It was none other than Yu Changxiu, the genius girl of the Lingtian sect. However, her expression was not very good at this time. After a slight moment of astonishment, flames burst out from her angry eyes. Yu Changxiu was cultivating peacefully in the blood spirit pool, originally thinking that it was just a genius girl from some other force who had also come to the depths of the pool and unintentionally approached her. She never expected it to be a man. Moreover, thinking about the characteristics of the blood spirit pool, the two of them were currently bathing naked together in this blood spirit pool, and a blush flew onto her cheeks, filled with shame and anger. Sorry, I seem to have come to the wrong place, Qin Chen said with an apologetic smile, hurrying to leave. Staying here was too embarrassing. However, Yu Changxiu's expression did not improve much. Came to the wrong place. What a joke. The areas of the blood spirit pool are separated for men and women by formations. It is impossible to encounter each other casually. This guy was able to come to this place, perhaps because he had mastered some loophole in the blood spirit pool's formation and deliberately came to make advances on the women of these major forces. Otherwise, since both the men's and women's sides can cultivate, why would he run over here? Qin Chen had indeed come to the wrong place. He was only focused on searching for spirit marrow crystals and had completely forgotten his position. If he had known that he had already intruded into the women's area, he would definitely not have shown his face. Although Yu Changxiu's appearance was extremely beautiful and her figure was extremely hot, Qin Chen had only glanced at her appreciatively and did not have too many thoughts. You lecher, you still want to leave? Seeing Qin Chen turn around to leave, Yu Changxiu's cold voice, like 10,000 years of cold ice, attacked. With a clang, a long sword appeared in her hand, pointing directly at Qin Chen, and a dense true energy condensed at the tip of the sword. What do you want to do? Qin Chen frowned. The spirit marrow liquid was milky white, and the surface of the pool was also filled with mist. He didn't see anything at all, and he didn't seem to have made any frivolous gestures. It was just a misunderstanding, and he had already apologized. Without answering, Yu Changxiu's enchanting figure suddenly shot out in the pool water, and a sharp whistling sound came. The tip of the cyan sword pierced directly at Qin Chen. So fast. Qin Chen's pupils suddenly shrank. It was the first time he had seen such a fast sword from a late-stage peak Earth-level martial artist. Without any hesitation, he activated the 9-star God Emperor art, and Qin Chen's hands were surrounded by true energy. He suddenly stretched out and clamped the tip of the sword, forcibly stopping it before his brow. You want to kill me? Qin Chen's voice carried a hint of anger. The power of this sword was enough to match the strength of dozens of horses. If he hadn't made a breakthrough in the blood spirit pool, if it were the former him, a moment of carelessness might have resulted in him being stabbed. So what if I do? Yu Changxiu quickly took out a formation disc from her body and threw it into the pool water. With a buzz, an invisible force of the formation quickly spread, blocking the interference of the 4th-level bewildering soul-trapping formation. After that, she stared coldly at Qin Chen, and the true energy in her body burst out again. Boom! This time, the power was even greater than before. A terrifying sword force shot out from the sword body and landed on Qin Chen's fingers, giving him a sense of coldness. Qin Chen's heart trembled slightly, and he only felt a chill spreading throughout his body. The hazy sword tip was aimed at him, and it actually locked onto his aura. Swish! The sword light circled around his body and suddenly flipped in Qin Chen's hand. This is sword intent. Qin Chen's pupils suddenly shrank. This woman was only 19 years old, yet she had already comprehended sword intent. Moreover, normally, when fighting in the blood-spirit pool, once the true energy fluctuations are large, the bewildering soul-trapping formation will lock onto the attacker and repel them, but this woman actually threw out an isolation formation disc, so that when she attacked in the blood-spirit pool, the bewildering soul-trapping formation could not sense her aura. She was preparing to put him to death. Butterfly flight. His figure swayed, dodging the overwhelming sword light. Qin Chen frowned and shouted in a low voice, "Your Excellency, it was just an accident. There's no need to make such a big fuss, right?" No matter what, it was his fault, and Qin Chen still wanted to explain. Accident. Yu Changsu sneered. No one knew that the bewildering soul-trapping formation in this blood-spirit pool was actually jointly arranged by her father and the president of the Northwest Five Nations Formation Master Guild. She was very clear about the terrifying nature of this bewildering soul-trapping formation. If she hadn't made careful preparations, even a fourth-level profound-level expert would not be able to break through. Moreover, those who entered the blood-spirit pool now were all geniuses from various forces, and their purpose was to absorb the power of the blood-spirit pool to make a breakthrough. However, in the blood-spirit pool, it was the same no matter where one cultivated, but the other party specifically ran to the women's area, and the purpose was self-evident. Saying it was an accident, only a ghost would believe it. Slightly surprised that Qin Chen could dodge her sword light, Yu Changsu's figure moved forward and attacked again. Buzz buzz buzz. Several sword lights crisscrossed, and the wailing sound was palpitating, piercing directly at Qin Chen's head. Splash. At the same time, the surface of the pool undulated, and as her figure moved slightly, Yu Changsu's twin peaks were almost completely exposed, and the two cherry-like dots were almost faintly visible. Careful, you're about to expose yourself. In his spare time, Qin Chen actually had the mind to remind her. You. Her face flushed red, and Yu Changsu had only performed half of this sword technique when she was so frightened that she hurriedly sank into the pool water again. It really was an accident just now. If there was any offense, please forgive me. Farewell. Seizing the opportunity, Qin Chen turned around and plunged into the water. Want to leave? It's not that easy. Yu Changsu was so angry that smoke was coming out of her ears, and her lungs were about to explode. In the Lingtian sect, she had always been a princess-like existence. When had she ever suffered such a big loss? Taking out an object from her body, Yu Changsu threw it towards the place where Qin Chen disappeared. A wave of fluctuations quickly rippled out. In the pool, Qin Chen was just preparing to return the same way when he felt an invisible force attacking him. It's actually a third-level ceiling formation. How can this guy have so many treasures on him? Qin Chen was speechless. The third-level ceiling formation was nothing to him. He could break it in just a moment, but if he did, the other party would be able to catch up. Turning around, Qin Chen went in the opposite direction, sneaking away. However, to Qin Chen's surprise, Yu Changsu's mental power was incredibly strong and had locked onto him. You scoundrel, see where you can run. Yu Changsu looked furious. Her jade body, treasured for 19 years, had been seen through by a man. If she didn't kill him today, how could she resolve the hatred in her heart? Following her senses, she chased after him all the way. This guy is really persistent. Qin Chen was about to go crazy. He had only inadvertently seen her naked body once, and only half of it at that, and he hadn't done anything to her. Did she have to hold such a deep grudge, as if he had slept with her? If they were to talk about who suffered a loss. He was also at a disadvantage being naked, okay. Looking depressed, Qin Chen concealed his aura and quickly moved forward. But before he could sneak far, he heard the sound of water again ahead. Who's there? At the same time, a delicate shout came again. Accompanying it was a force of icy coldness, sealing off the area towards him. No way. Qin Chen's head ached. He hadn't even dealt with one, and another one was coming. But that voice seemed somewhat familiar, and a figure instantly appeared in Qin Chen's mind. The power of ice permeated the air, and forced to, Qin Chen emerged from the water. Sure enough, a young girl in front of him was looking vigilantly at the surface of the pool. When she saw Qin Chen emerge, she exclaimed in surprise, "Ah! Shush. Don't talk. Qin Chen looked embarrassed and quickly whispered. Why is it you? Zhao Lingshan's face was flushed, and her jade-like arms hurriedly covered her breasts, her face full of shame and anger. Wasn't this the blood spirit pool, where men couldn't enter? How could Qin Chen be here? Lingshan, what's wrong? Not far away, in the misty vapor, a questioning voice sounded, and Princess Zixuan's figure, indistinct, slowly approached. Her figure was graceful, her long hair draped over her shoulders, and just looking at her silhouette was endlessly seductive, something any man with blood in his veins would not be able to resist. Ahem. If someone comes later, don't mention that I'm here. Whispering softly into Zhao Lingshan's ear, Qin Chen quickly dove down next to Zhao Lingshan, concealing his aura. Princess Zixuan came to Zhao Lingshan's side, looking puzzled. I'm fine, Zhao Lingshan said, lowering her head, her face as red as a ripe apple. Thinking that Qin Chen was now hiding next to her, and she was still naked, Zhao Lingshan's heart pounded wildly, her whole body burning, with an indescribable feeling. It's good that you're okay, but why is your face so red? Did something unexpected happen during your cultivation? Princess Zixuan looked somewhat serious. Zhao Lingshan saw Princess Zixuan walk to the place where Qin Chen had emerged earlier, and her heart almost jumped out of her throat. She hurriedly said, I'm fine, it's just that the blood spirit pool's energy is too overbearing, and I can't bear it for a while. Princess Zixuan's expression became even more serious, and she said with concern, although your cultivation directly broke through to the mid-stage of the Earth realm in the blood spirit pool just now, it has been a day now. It is already very rare for you to be able to persist until now. Once you can't hold on, you must leave immediately. Sister Zixuan, I know myself, I won't force myself. Zhao Lingshan nodded repeatedly. Suddenly, Zixuan seemed to sense something, and frowned. Sister Zixuan, what's wrong? Zhao Lingshan was so frightened that her heart was about to jump out, her hands clenched tightly, her whole body burning, and she was extremely flustered. It's over. Could it be that Sister Zixuan has discovered him? If Sister Zixuan saw that she and Qin Chen were together like this, she would definitely kill Qin Chen. Who? Zixuan suddenly shouted, startling Zhao Lingshan, who was about to explain, when she saw Princess Zixuan flick her beautiful hair, suddenly turn her head, and look towards the depths of the blood spirit pool. A woman with a stunning figure emerged from the misty vapor, holding a long sword, and looked over with a cold expression. It was Yu Changxiu. You too. Did you see any outsiders passing by just now? Yu Changxiu said coldly, her whole body exuding a murderous aura. Zixuan frowned. This Ling Qian sect genius was so arrogant. Did she think of herself as a criminal? I didn't see anyone. There are only the two of us here. Princess Zixuan sneered, her tone displeased. Yu Changxiu originally wanted to remind Princess Zixuan and Zhao Lingshan, but after hearing Princess Zixuan's tone, she was too lazy to speak and continued to search towards the outer side of the blood spirit pool. Inexplicable. Zixuan looked at Yu Changxiu's disappearing back and couldn't help but sneer. What? Someone passing by. Those who entered here were all geniuses from various forces, and those who could come here were all geniuses among geniuses. How could there be any outsiders passing by? And she was carrying a weapon. Fighting was strictly prohibited in the blood spirit pool. Once there was a fluctuation of true energy, it would be repelled by the formation. Did she think she could take action just because she was carrying a sword? How ridiculous. Since nothing's wrong, I'll go first. If you can't hold on, leave the blood spirit pool. If anything happens, remember to call me. I'll be near you. After reminding her, Princess Zixuan disappeared into the mist and began to cultivate again. You can come out now. Zhao Lingshan whispered towards the bottom of the pool. Splash. The surface of the water broke, and Qin Chen emerged, his nose less than half a foot away from Zhao Lingshan's breasts. Did that crazy woman leave? Qin Chen said, his breath falling on Zhao Lingshan's breasts. Zhao Lingshan's face flushed red, all the way to the roots of her ears. What exactly did you do to her? And how could you come here? Zhao Lingshan widened her eyes and looked at Qin Chen suspiciously. Zhao Lingshan had clearly seen Yu Changxiu's murderous look just now. Could it be that Qin Chen had done that to her? Zhao Lingshan's face also turned ugly. Misunderstanding. It's all just a misunderstanding. I don't know how I got here either. I didn't do anything, and that crazy woman chased me for a long time. Thank you this time. Qin Chen coughed twice. If it weren't for Zhao Lingshan's help, he would have been in big trouble. As a reward, I'll help you, he whispered, and Qin Chen's hands suddenly pointed out, poking towards Zhao Lingshan's naked body. What do you want to do? Zhao Lingshan was startled. Before she could react, she felt a numbness all over her body, and several acupoints on her body had been tapped by Qin Chen. She was immediately terrified. Could it be that Qin Chen wanted to do that to her? But after Qin Chen tapped twice, he had already withdrawn his hands. Okay, you continue to cultivate. Remember, the spirit marrow liquid in the blood spirit pool also has an enhancing effect on bloodlines. Your ice bloodline can also receive baptism. Thank you just now, goodbye. Qin Chen turned around and dived into the water. Zhao Lingshan breathed a sigh of relief, her face flushed, and she couldn't tell what she was feeling. There was both relief and, faintly, even some disappointment. What am I thinking? Zhao Lingshan blushed so much she almost stamped her feet, taking a long breath to finally calm down after a good while. At this moment, she suddenly noticed something strange about her body. Before, in the blood spirit pool, she had persevered almost to her limit, the pain almost unbearable, and she had been struggling to hold on. But now, that intense pain had disappeared, and her whole body was filled with ease. Moreover, from the acupoints Qin Chen had touched earlier, a faint, cool sensation was subtly emanating. Could it be that Qin Chen's casual touch had greatly increased her tolerance to the blood spirit pool? Her eyes widened, and Zhao Lingshan gasped. She knew too much about the power of the blood spirit pool. Every talented martial artist dreamed of staying in it for a longer time. However, so far, the Northwest 5 nations had not found any way to allow their talented disciples to stay even a moment longer. But Qin Chen's casual touch had increased her tolerance to the blood spirit pool so much. Thinking of the various methods Qin Chen had displayed for some time, Zhao Lingshan couldn't help but be shocked. How many secrets were hidden within him? Calming her mind and stopping the thought, Zhao Lingshan began to cultivate in the blood spirit pool again, and according to what Qin Chen said, she began to cleanse her bloodline. That damned lecher actually got away. In the high-level area of the blood spirit pool, Yu Changxiu's eyes were cold, her gaze chilling. She had searched the blood spirit pool for a long time but couldn't find Qin Chen's figure, making her extremely depressed. But I have already remembered his appearance. Don't let me meet him outside, otherwise, I will definitely make him suffer. Her eyes were cold, and Yu Changxiu lightly bit her pearly teeth, her lips red. At this moment, in the men's blood spirit pool area, Qin Chen slowly poked his head out in the tenfold concentration area. I have searched almost the entire bottom of this spirit marrow pool. Even if there are any spirit marrow crystals left out, there won't be more than 1 or 2. Consider it leaving a route for the geniuses of the Northwest 5 nations. Once all the spirit marrow crystals were picked up, the entire spirit marrow liquid pool would slowly dry up, eventually completely losing its spirituality. Closing his eyes to rest, Qin Chen began to cultivate again in this spirit marrow liquid. He had absorbed enough spirit marrow liquid now. After all, he had been in the 5-fold area before, and with the 9-star God Emperor Art's 12 meridians simultaneously absorbing frantically, cultivating for 1 day was almost equal to other geniuses absorbing for 10 days. And at this moment, what Qin Chen had to do was to use the energy in the spirit marrow liquid to break through his current realm. Outside the blood spirit pool. A day later, the vast majority of martial artists had been eliminated. Those who could still remain at this time were the elites among the elites of the major forces. In the Great Qi Kingdom area, Xiao Zhan looked worried and full of tension. So far, 80% of the geniuses who entered the blood spirit pool for cleansing had been eliminated. But 6 of their 8 disciples from the Great Qi Kingdom had not been eliminated yet. The 4th prince, Qin Feng, and Princess Xixun could indeed persist until now, but Qin Chen and the other 3. Xiao Zhan couldn't imagine that Qin Chen and the others could persist until now with their cultivation. His Majesty is still too hasty. Sighing, Xiao Zhan didn't know what to say. If Qin Chen and the other three died in the blood spirit pool, then things would probably be serious. Now, he could only pray that Qin Chen and the others had already left the blood spirit pool and were just cultivating to break through. High-level area of the blood spirit pool. More and more people were leaving, and fewer people remained. From the initial dozen or so people, now only about 10 remained. Those who could stay were all top geniuses from the major forces, such as Qin Feng, Nian Wuji, Li Mengbai, Cao Heng, and others. Surprisingly, Wang Qiming was still persevering. Did the martial artists of the Great Qi Kingdom take aphrodisiacs this time? Even such a young boy is still persevering, it's really a ghost. Cao Heng looked depressed. At this moment, he was clenching his teeth, and his whole body was covered in cold sweat. Even he was almost unable to hold on, but Wang Qiming had not been eliminated yet. Not only him, but the other geniuses also looked surprised. How strong of willpower would it take for such a 16 or 17-year-old boy to persist until now? Huff. In the blood spirit pool, Wang Qiming finally opened his eyes. My physical body's absorption of the blood spirit pool has reached its limit. If I continue to persist, I'm afraid my life will be in danger. Standing up, Wang Qiming walked towards the low-level area without hesitation. Then he went directly to the shore and practiced cross-legged. This kid finally left. Seeing that Wang Qiming had finally left, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. An hour after Wang Qiming left, the fourth prince, Zhao Wei, finally couldn't hold on either. Reluctantly glancing at Qin Feng, who was still practicing cross-legged, the fourth prince had to grit his teeth and return to the shore to start breaking through. Following closely behind, Cao Heng, Li Mengbai, and other geniuses were also eliminated one after another. In the end, only Nian Wuji and Qin Feng remained. Kid, you have some skill. Nian Wuji stared at Qin Feng, his eyes shooting out fierce light. Now, only he and Qin Feng were left in the blood spirit pool. Whoever could persist until the end would likely become the person who persisted the longest in the blood spirit pool this time. Nian Wuji, like challenges the most. Then let's see which of us can persist until the end. Gritting his teeth, Nian Wuji fully mobilized his true energy, stubbornly persevering, his face ferocious. Outside the blood spirit pool, the crowd was restless. It's been almost 2 days, right? There are still so many people who haven't come out. According to the usual pattern, the person who persists the longest only persists for about a day and a half. Why are so many people persisting until now this time? Especially that Great Qi Kingdom, there are actually 6 people who haven't come out yet. This is simply heaven-defying. What's heaven-defying? Those low-level kids are probably already dead inside. Maybe the other people from the Great Qi Kingdom are also dead in the blood spirit pool. The crowd clicked their tongues, secretly discussing among themselves. This blood spirit pool cleansing session far exceeded the ordinary. So far, combined for both men and women, there was still more than a dozen people who hadn't come out. This was simply unimaginable in the past. Especially when it came to the Great Qi Kingdom, everyone looked strange. They didn't know whether Xiao Zhan should be happy or sad. Several geniuses who came out from the high-level area obviously knew that Wang Qiming had not fallen. But they didn't speak out. If they said it, letting people know that they hadn't even compared to a 16 or 17-year-old boy would be too embarrassing. Some people even cursed viciously in their hearts, hoping that Wang Qiming and the others couldn't hold on and died in the blood spirit pool. This also led to an even more unpredictable ending. Another person has come out. And, in the boys' area, another person appeared, attracting everyone's attention. Isn't that one of the low-ranking guys from the Great Qi Kingdom? And someone exclaimed. Xiao Zhan was suddenly startled and quickly looked up, seeing Wang Qiming walking out of the formation. You're okay. Haha, that's great. And, overjoyed, Xiao Zhan rushed to Wang Qiming in a few steps, grabbed his shoulders with both hands, his expression excited and joyful. Wang Qiming looked at Xiao Zhan in astonishment. What was going on? Was Master Xiao Zhan too excited? Ha, it's good that you're okay, come over here quickly. And Xiao Zhan's face was beaming with excitement, his eyes narrowed into a line. Wang Qiming's survival, in his opinion, not only meant that Wang Qiming was fine, but also that Qin Chen and the others were likely still alive. HMPH, it's just one more person alive, look at how excited you are. And from the Great Wei Kingdom's side, Yu Qicheng sneered with a mocking tone. Yu Qicheng, say one more word, and believe it or not, I'll be rude. And Xiao Zhan said angrily, turning his head with a glare. Am I, Yu Qicheng, afraid of you? And Yu Qicheng sneered, his body radiating killing intent. All right. No need to say any more. And this is the power of the blood spirit pool's baptism. You two should restrain yourselves. And a strong person from another force frowned and spoke immediately. This place was full of geniuses from various forces, precious talents. If something happened, who could take responsibility? HMPH. And with a cold snort, Xiao Zhan was in a good mood and ignored Yu Qicheng. He turned to look at Wang Qiming, and was immediately shocked. Wang Qiming, you've broken through to the heaven realm. And in his previous surprise, Xiao Zhan hadn't paid attention. Now, upon closer inspection, Wang Qiming had actually broken through from the early earth realm to the heaven realm. This was simply unprecedented. Although the blood spirit pool could allow people to break through, the vast majority only improved by one level. Being able to improve by 2 levels was already very rare. But Wang Qiming had actually improved from the early earth realm to the early heaven realm in one fell swoop. This was almost an entire realm's improvement, and could be called rare in the history of the blood spirit pool's baptism. At least in the past 100 years, no one had ever heard of it. It's just luck. And Wang Qiming said. But he knew in his heart that if it weren't for Qin Chen's help, he wouldn't have had such a big improvement. Heavens. And the others were also shocked. To improve by an entire major realm, the Great Qi Kingdom's genius was simply heaven-defying. Although the heaven realm aura on Wang Qiming's body was obviously unstable and very weak, and also incomplete, as long as he carefully consolidated it for a few days, he could easily completely enter the heaven realm. On the side, Li Qingfeng and Zhang Yi were dumbfounded, almost unable to believe their eyes. Especially Zhang Yi, who was almost going crazy. When he went in, he was 2 minor levels higher than the other party, but when he came out, the other party was a major level ahead of him. Compared to that, he was simply trash. Buzz. Just then, another figure walked out of the formation. Another genius from the Great Qi Kingdom. And this time, it was from the female genius's side. Zhao Lingshan, exuding an ethereal aura, slowly walked out. Her body was condensed with true energy, and she had also broken through to the heaven realm. Everyone was dumbfounded. Another heaven realm expert. When did breaking through to the heaven realm become so easy? Everyone was about to collapse. Could it be said that the effect of this blood spirit pool had improved? Otherwise, how could it be so much stronger than in the past? Following that, geniuses walked out one after another. It must be said, this year's blood spirit pool baptism was much stronger than in previous years. Those who persisted until the end and walked out, except for a few who were only at the late peak of the earth realm, the remaining few had all broken through to the heaven realm. There were no less than 10 of them. In the past, being able to directly break through to the heaven realm during the blood spirit pool baptism was almost the existence of the top 5 in the 5 Nations tournament, while being able to break through to the heaven realm a few days before the tournament could compete for the top 10. But now, the blood spirit pool baptism hadn't completely ended, and there were already no less than 10 heaven realm geniuses, completely breaking the previous record. 2 more hours passed. Princess Sixyun and the 4th prince also walked out of the formation separately. The auras on their bodies were naturally both at the heaven realm, and had reached the peak of the early heaven realm, very stable, and obviously stronger than Wang Qiming. After all, their foundation was more solid. Even if Wang Qiming and Zhao Lingshan came from behind, it would be difficult for them to surpass them in a short time. By the way, Qin Feng and Qin Chen, have you seen them? And Xiao Zhan asked with concern. Now, 2 days had passed since they entered the blood spirit pool baptism. Among the Great Qi Kingdom's disciples, only Qin Chen and Qin Feng hadn't come out yet. When I left, Qin Feng was still receiving the baptism, but Qin Chen, I haven't seen him at all. And The fourth prince's eyes were solemn. Could it be that he hasn't come out yet? And with Qin Chen's cultivation, it wasn't a good thing that he hadn't come out of the blood spirit pool yet. I haven't seen young Master Chen either. And Wang Qiming also said this. And everyone looked at each other, and a sense of foreboding arose in their hearts. Could it be that Qin Chen died inside? And Zhang Yi couldn't help but say. He was secretly delighted in his heart that it was good that there was a Qin Chen who died inside as a scapegoat, otherwise, he would have lost face. What nonsense are you talking about? Young Master Chen couldn't have died inside. And Wang Qiming said angrily, glaring at Zhang Yi. The aura of the heaven realm enveloped Zhang Yi, and Zhang Yi immediately felt difficulty breathing, his face flushed red. He hasn't come out yet. I suspect that he died inside, and it's not without reason. And Zhang Yi's expression was ugly. Moreover, have you seen him inside? And now even this kid dared to talk to him like that, but unfortunately, he didn't dare to fight back, who told him that he hadn't even broken through to the heaven realm. Wang Qiming's breathing stagnated, his expression ugly. Indeed, from the time he entered the blood spirit pool until he left, he hadn't seen Qin Chen once in these 2 days. If Qin Chen was really in the blood spirit pool, how could he not have seen him even once? Could it be? No. Young Master Chen will definitely be fine. Wang Qiming gritted his teeth. He still didn't believe that something would happen to Qin Chen. That lecture hasn't come out. And Princess Xixun widened her eyes and couldn't help but say. For some reason, she felt a faint sadness in her heart. This wasn't because she had any feelings for Qin Chen, but just felt that although Qin Chen was bad, it was too unjust for him to die in the blood spirit pool like this. I hope Qin Chen will be fine. And Xiao Zhan sighed. He could only pray like this, although it seemed that this was probably just wishful thinking. In the crowd, Zhao Lingshan clenched her hands tightly, feeling extremely uncomfortable. She really wanted to tell everyone that she had seen Qin Chen in the blood spirit pool, but if she said it, it would be a big problem. At that time, she was afraid that no matter how she explained, she wouldn't be able to explain it clearly. While waiting, another half-day passed. A figure appeared in the formation again. It was Nian Wuji from the Ghost Immortal sect. Mid-Heaven Realm. Upon seeing Nian Wuji, the crowd immediately exclaimed, stunned. It could be seen that Nian Wuji's entire body was gathering true energy, and had actually reached the mid-stage of the Heaven Realm. That rich aura even directly pressed down on some of the powerhouses present. In an instant, everyone was going crazy, their mouths wide open, not daring to believe their eyes, rubbing them desperately. Heavens, what exactly is going on with this year's blood spirit pool baptism? It actually produced a mid-stage Heaven Realm martial artist. In the past nearly 100 years of blood spirit pool baptisms, the strongest among all the geniuses had only broken through to the peak of the early stage of the Heaven Realm. Someone once asserted that for geniuses under the age of 24 entering the blood spirit pool, reaching the early stage of the Heaven Realm was already the limit. Yet, unexpectedly, Nian Wuji of the Ghost Immortal sect actually broke this record, breaking through to the mid-stage of the Heaven Realm in one fell swoop. This was the first time this had ever happened in the history of the blood spirit pool baptism. For a time, the crowd fell silent, inexplicably shocked. Many people were even speechless in their hearts. Are you even letting people live? A 22-year-old mid-stage Heaven Realm martial artist indicated that Nian Wuji's probability of breaking through to the profound realm before the age of 30 was almost higher than 60%. It could be foreseen that in the near future, the Ghost Immortal sect would have a heaven-defying powerhouse. Ha ha, Wuji, that's great. If the sect master knows that you've broken through to the mid-stage of the Heaven Realm, he will definitely be very happy. Elder Ling Jung of the Ghost Immortal sect had a face full of ecstasy. Amidst everyone's envious gazes, he stepped forward and laughed loudly. But what was puzzling was that the expression on Nian Wuji's face was very solemn, without a hint of happiness. Wuji, what's wrong? Elder Ling Jung asked in confusion. Such a great joyous event, yet Nian Wuji was not happy at all. Instead, his gaze was solemn and his face carried a baleful aura. Could it be that there was some problem during the breakthrough process? Thinking of this, Elder Ling Jung's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Wuji, is there something wrong with your body? As he said that, he was about to anxiously step forward to investigate. For a genius, the most important thing was not how high their cultivation was at the moment, but which step they could ultimately reach in the future. If Nyan Wuji suffered some damage to his body in order to break through to the mid-stage of the heaven realm, although his cultivation would improve significantly in a short period of time, his future would be bleak. At that time, when he returned to the sect, he would definitely be punished by the sect master. Elder Ling Jung, I'm fine. Humph. That Qin Feng actually lasted longer than me in the blood spirit pool, it's simply unforgivable. Nyan Wuji raised his head, coldly shouted, his eyes ice cold, shooting out a fierce light. I, Nyan Wuji, am the #1 genius in the Northwest 5 nations. How can I allow some descendant of a king or marquis to be above me? His fists clenched tightly. Nyan Wuji's face was ferocious. You have such a baleful aura because of this. Ling Jung staggered, almost crying. Damn it. It's just that someone lasted longer than you. Do you need to look like your parents died? It made me think there was something wrong with your body, scared me half to death. Moreover, you've already broken the record of the blood spirit pool for so many years. What else do you want? Wuji, although Qin Feng lasted longer than you, his cultivation may not be as good as yours. There's no need to pay so much attention. Ling Jung wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said speechlessly. That's right. Hearing this, Nyan Wuji's eyes lit up, and he regained his confidence. Lasting longer doesn't mean his cultivation can surpass mine. When the time comes, I will still be the most dazzling one in the blood spirit pool baptism of the past 100 years. Just as he was fantasizing. Buzz. The formation in front of them shone again, and then a graceful figure walked out of the formation. Someone else came out. Nyan Wuji isn't the last one. Obviously not. Didn't you hear Nyan Wuji just say that Qin Feng of the Great Qi Kingdom hasn't appeared yet? Also, Miss Yu Changxiu of the Lingtian sect hasn't come out either. It's Miss Yu Changxiu. The graceful figure slowly emerged, revealing a stunningly beautiful face. It was Yu Changxiu. Feeling the aura on Yu Changxiu's body, everyone was dumbfounded again. Mid-stage heaven realm. Another mid-stage heaven realm martial artist. It could be seen that the true energy on Yu Changxiu's body was condensed and not scattered. If it wasn't the mid-stage heaven realm, then what was it? Moreover, the true energy of the mid-stage heaven realm on her body was very rich, not weaker than Nyan Wuji at all. Everyone was shocked, and each of them was going crazy. In the past, they couldn't even see one mid-stage heaven realm martial artist, but this time, two appeared all of a sudden. Was it necessary to be so exaggerated? This, Nyan Wuji's confidence, which had just been restored, instantly collapsed. His eyes were ferocious and his face was full of depression. Buzz. Just at this moment, the formation was activated again. Someone else came out. Everyone turned their heads and looked at the formation in front again. In the hazy formation, a slender youth walked out from the male area. He had long hair draped over his shoulders, his eyes were like stars, cold and unrestrained. It was Qin Feng, and the aura on his body was like wolf smoke of essence and energy, rolling and soaring into the sky, even sharper than Nyan Wuji and Yu Changxiu. Hiss. The sound of inhaling cold air instantly came, and the people present were almost numb. Without a doubt, Qin Feng had also broken through to the mid-stage of the heaven realm, and was only stronger than Nyan Wuji and Yu Changxiu. 3 mid-stage heaven realm martial artists. Hiss. My heavens, what's going on with this year's blood spirit pool baptism? It's simply heaven-defying. Everyone was dumbfounded, their eyes dull, and their brains were crashing one by one. In the past, they couldn't even see one, but now 3 appeared all of a sudden. This. No one could describe the shock in their hearts at this moment, they only knew that their brains were completely unable to think. This time, there shouldn't be anyone else coming out, right? No. Qin Feng is already the last one. This blood spirit pool baptism has already ended. The crowd exhaled. After experiencing so much shock, this year's blood spirit pool baptism was finally over. But without a doubt, the appearance of 3 geniuses in the mid-stage of the heaven realm would make this blood spirit pool baptism forever remembered in the history of the Northwest 5 nations. Amidst the discussions, the crowd was bustling, about to disperse. Where exactly is that brat? At this time, Yu Changxu's eyes coldly swept across the cave, searching for Qin Chen's figure. How could the humiliation of being defiled be simply dismissed like this? However, no matter how she searched, she never saw that young man. Why hasn't the soul-bewildering trapping formation been closed? Could it be that the blood spirit pool baptism hasn't ended yet? Suddenly, a surprised voice came, attracting everyone to turn their heads one after another. It could be seen that the formation outside the blood spirit pool had not been closed, still flickering with faint light, still running. Everyone's gazes suddenly stagnated. The design principle of this soul-bewildering trapping formation is that as long as all the living disciples walk out of the blood spirit pool, it will be closed. The next time it is opened, it must be after 5 years, when the 5 nations use the keys to open it again. But now, the trapping formation is still running, obviously indicating that there are still disciples alive inside, and they have not left. At this moment, everyone was shocked, inexplicably horrified. What time is it already? There's still someone in the blood spirit pool who hasn't come out. Who exactly is it? Who's still inside? For a time, the crowd was in turmoil, and no one could remain calm. The 3 Qin Feng who came out last had all broken through to the mid-stage of the heaven realm in their cultivation. They had created a record in the history of the blood spirit pool baptism. They originally thought that this was already the limit. But they never expected that someone would last even longer than Qin Feng and the others. Was this defying the heavens? Qin Feng and the others had all broken through to the mid-stage of the heaven realm, so what would the cultivation of the last one be? It wouldn't be the late stage of the heaven realm, would it? Li Mengbai of the Great Zhao Kingdom has already come out. The top geniuses of the Great Qi and Great Wei Kingdoms have also come out. The Great Liang and Great Song Kingdoms are the same. Who exactly is this guy who hasn't come out yet? Looking around at the top geniuses present, everyone was at a loss. All the geniuses who could have stayed inside until now were already outside, so who was still inside? Could it be that the last person who didn't come out is young Master Chen? Yes, it must be him. On the Great Qi Kingdom's side, Zhao Lingshan and Wang Qiming were excited. In their opinion, the guy who hadn't come out was very likely Qin Chen. It must be that lecher. On the Ling Qian sect's side, Yu Changxu's eyes turned cold. That lecher was able to pass through the bewildering soul trap formation and enter the high-level area where she had been before. The possibility of him being able to hold on until now was extremely high. In an instant, everyone's eyes focused forward, waiting secretly. 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours. In the blink of an eye, another day passed. The formation was still not closed, and no one had come out. Could it be that the formation is broken? Finally, someone couldn't help but speak. It had been almost 3 days, and there was still someone who hadn't come out. What a joke. The power in the blood spirit pool was so violent. An average genius could stay for a day, which was already quite rare. Staying for 2 days was enough to break the record, and staying for 3 days, was this a human or a blood beast? Maybe the formation is really broken. Everyone was stunned and suddenly realized. This was not impossible. Although the 4th order formation was terrifying, any formation could malfunction due to long-term operation. The formation surrounding the blood spirit pool had actually been replaced several times in the past 100 years. The most recent replacement was more than 10 years ago. After all, the operation of the formation consumed a lot of energy and needed to be maintained from time to time. It was not impossible for it to malfunction now. Immediately send a message to the 5 Nations Formation Master Guild and ask them to send someone to take a look, a strong man said with a frown. As soon as he finished speaking, suddenly and buzz. The formation, which had been silent for more than a day, fluctuated again. A blurry figure slowly walked out of the formation. The figure was hazy, clearly a young man. Who is it? At this moment, everyone widened their eyes, staring intently ahead. They saw a young man who was only 15 or 16 years old slowly walking out of the formation under the gaze of everyone. Seeing the true face of the other party, everyone's expressions instantly froze, and their eyeballs almost fell to the ground. This. Am I seeing things? Isn't this one of the low-level kids from the Great Qi Kingdom? How could it be him? So young, yet he can stay in the blood spirit pool until now. How is this possible? Everyone was shocked, almost unable to believe their eyes. It really is young Master Chen. Wang Qiming's face showed ecstasy. It's actually Qin Chen, how could it be? Qin Feng's pupils shrank, and a cold light shot out. It really is that lecher. In Yu Changxu's eyes, a murderous intent burst out. What's wrong with you guys? Standing in front of the formation, Qin Chen was startled when he saw the almost cannibalistic gazes of the crowd. No way, he had only come out of the formation. Was it necessary to make such a big fuss, with everyone looking like hungry wolves wanting to eat him? That look made Qin Chen shudder. Late stage peak of the Earth realm. Xiao Zhan looked at Qin Chen in shock, and after feeling the aura on his body, his brow furrowed slightly. After staying in the blood spirit pool for so long, Qin Chen had broken through from the early stage peak of the Earth realm to the late stage peak of the Earth realm in one fell swoop. The blood spirit pool was full of energy, so there was no need to worry about the foundation being unstable. Qin Chen naturally broke through without any reservations. However, with Wang Qiming's previous foreshadowing, Xiao Zhan not only was not shocked, but instead had a trace of doubt. Qin Chen had obviously persisted longer than Wang Qiming, but his cultivation was not as good as Wang Qiming's. What was going on? Qin Chen, you've finally come out. I was so worried about you, Xiao Zhan said, breathing a sigh of relief as he came to Qin Chen's side. At this point, all 8 geniuses from the Great Qi Kingdom who had entered the blood spirit pool had returned without a single casualty, which could be said to be a complete success. Regardless of their cultivation, being able to come out was already a fortunate thing. By the way, how did you manage to stay inside for so long? More than 3 days, almost 4 days now. That's more than a day longer than Qin Feng, Xiao Zhan asked, feeling puzzled. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's eyes focused on him, wanting to see how Qin Chen would answer. Their eyes were scorching, as if they were looking at a naked beauty. Nearly 4 days. Even if you are a genius and your physical body is strong, you can't last that long, right? What method did you use to hold on until now? So it's because I stayed too long. Feeling the hot and curious gazes of the crowd, Qin Chen finally understood why others were looking at him like this. Cough. Cough. Actually, I came out on the 2nd day, but I don't know why. The formation didn't teleport me to the exit, but instead teleported me to a remote place, which resulted in me getting lost and searching for a full 2 days before I found the exit, Qin Chen said with a wry smile and a look of depression. Is that what happened? Xiao Zhan opened his mouth wide, looking surprised. Yeah. Qin Chen nodded, also looking speechless. What? Hearing this explanation, everyone collapsed and almost cried. Big brother, are you kidding me? They originally thought you had some special means to stay in the blood spirit pool for so long. Who knew that it was just because the formation malfunctioned? This was too cheating. Everyone wanted to cry but had no tears, but they all inexplicably breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts. Thinking about it, if that Qin Chen had really stayed in the blood spirit pool for a full 4 days, how could he have only broken through to the late stage peak of the Earth realm? He wouldn't have even reached the early stage of the Heaven realm. Didn't they see that almost everyone who had stayed for more than 2 days had broken through to the early stage of the Heaven realm? If he really stayed for 4 days, not to mention anything else, at least the mid-stage of the Heaven realm would be a certainty. Buzz. The 4th order bewildering soul trap formation suddenly fluctuated at this time and slowly subsided, which meant that the last disciple had also left the blood spirit pool. The next time the formation was opened, it would have to wait until 5 years later. Let's go. Seeing this scene, the strong men of the major forces immediately led their respective geniuses and left the cave. HMPH. Passing by Qin Chen and the others, Nian Wuji and Cao Heng of the Great Wei Kingdom both let out a cold snort. Wait and see. Even if you persist longer than me, what can you do? In the preliminary round of the 5 Nations Grand Competition 3 days later, this young sect master will let you know who is the real #1 genius. Your disciples of the Great Qi Kingdom, you all have to be careful, Nian Wuji said with a sneer, his eyes sweeping over the many geniuses of the Great Qi Kingdom before leaving with a cold laugh. The fourth Prince Zhao Wei looked at the gradually receding ghost immortal sect and Great Wei geniuses, and worried in his heart. I'm afraid that in the preliminary competition 3 days later, the ghost immortal sect and Great Wei will launch a major attack on us. Princess Sixyun sneered. They want to kill us, so can't we kill them? In terms of strength, we are not weaker than them. Qin Chen glanced at Princess Sixyun. Although this Princess Sixyun is just a woman, her personality is very resolute. However, Qin Feng, who was the strongest, did not speak, but glanced at Qin Chen out of the corner of his eye. Although his movements were slight, they were still keenly captured by Qin Chen. It seems that Qin Feng's desire to kill me has not diminished, so come on then. Qin Chen narrowed his eyes, his heart turned cold, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Qin Feng thought he could easily crush him, but when he makes a move, he will know what regret is. Xiao Zhan said in a deep voice, You few, still be careful, don't underestimate the Great Wei and the Ghost Immortal sect. Although we also have a mid-stage heaven-level genius like the Ghost Immortal sect, I have observed that Cao Heng of the Great Wei should also be able to break through to the mid-stage heaven level in 3 days. Moreover, their overall strength is stronger than ours, and coupled with their alliance, they have a great advantage. Xiao Zhan's heart was heavy. No matter how outstanding the geniuses who entered the blood spirit pool this time performed, in terms of basic strength, the Great Wei and the Ghost Immortal sect were stronger than the Great Qi. Now that they have joined forces, it is still quite dangerous. A group of people returned to their respective camps. Suddenly, Qin Chen felt a chilling gaze. He turned his head, his face suddenly froze, and he wore a bitter expression. He saw that on the side of the Lingtian sect, Yu Changxu was looking at him with a cold expression, and a murderous intent was revealed in her eyes. Qin Chen awkwardly touched his nose, speechless. Wasn't it just accidentally seeing something? Did she have to hate him so much? They've already come out of the blood spirit pool, and she's still staring at him so closely. Is it necessary? Back at the camp, the other genius disciples of the Great Qi had already gathered around, looking at Qin Chen and the others with envy. Damn, the blood spirit pool is indeed the blood spirit pool. In just a few days, even the one with the lowest cultivation has broken through to the late stage peak of the earth level. Someone was shocked and dumbfounded. That's nothing. I heard that the one who lasted the longest in the blood spirit pool this time was Prince Dingwu's grandson, Qin Feng, who stayed for almost 3 days and broke through to the mid-stage of the heaven level in one fell swoop, breaking the previous record of the blood spirit pool. A martial artist who knew the news in advance couldn't help but show off. Hiss. So amazing. It seems that we are in luck for this 5 nations preliminary competition. The other martial artists' eyes lit up. The stronger the geniuses of their country, the more positive impact it would have on them during the preliminary competition. That's not right. Why did I hear that the one who lasted the longest was Qin Chen? Someone asked suspiciously. I also heard it was Qin Chen. Some well-informed people also said. You guys don't understand. The one who lasted the longest was indeed Qin Chen, but... That person showed a strange look and paused. But what? The others were dissatisfied. What did he mean by only saying half of the story? Seeing that he was about to provoke public anger, that person then said, however, it is said that Qin Chen had already stopped accepting the baptism on the 2nd day, but got lost in the formation of the blood spirit pool, which is why he stayed for more than 4 days. What? Got lost? Everyone was dumbfounded and almost fainted. Brother, this is the blood spirit pool baptism. Once the baptism is over, the formation will directly teleport the person receiving the baptism to the exit. How can someone get lost? Are you sure you're not joking? Many people couldn't help but laugh out loud. What a freak. Qin Chen will probably become famous throughout the 5 nations now. The first person in the history of the blood spirit pool to get lost in the formation, ha 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 ha. This is just too much. However, because of the terrifying strength Qin Chen showed in the battle with Jiang Zheng before, and the fact that he had also broken through to the late stage peak of the earth level, everyone just regarded it as a joke and laughed it off, and no one really dwelled on it. But as everyone guessed, when the news spread, all the forces in the Northwest 5 nations were amused. Everyone's focus was only on 2 points. First, This blood spirit pool baptism was unprecedented, and 3 mid-stage heaven-level experts had appeared. Second, Qin Chen got lost. In an instant, Qin Chen getting lost became a topic and spread throughout all the martial artists in the Demon Ancestor mountain range. HMPH. Got lost. Who are you trying to fool? This person definitely did something shady in the blood spirit pool. Inside the Lingtian sect camp, Yu Changxiu, who had received the news, had a sneer on her face. According to Qin Chen, he only stayed for 2 days and was teleported out, but the truth was that she saw Qin Chen after 2 days. It can be seen that Qin Chen was simply lying. Moreover, the area of the blood spirit pool she was in had an extremely high concentration, and it was impossible for anyone other than top geniuses to set foot in it. But Qin Chen was able to appear nearby. Who would believe that he couldn't last for 2 days? Qin Chen naturally ignored these rumors. After returning to the camp, he sat down cross-legged and began to meditate and cultivate. The blood spirit pool baptism allowed him to raise his physical strength to the extreme, and his cultivation also reached the late stage peak of the earth level. In fact, it wasn't that Qin Chen couldn't break through to the heaven level. It's just that he was very clear. A martial artist's cultivation must progress gradually and not be too aggressive, otherwise the foundation will be unstable, which will have a huge impact on the future. Therefore, even knowing that there would generally not be many side effects in the blood spirit pool, Qin Chen still did not rush to break through to the heaven level, but prepared to consolidate for a few days before breaking through. In this way, there will be no hidden dangers at all. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Qin Chen buried himself in hard cultivation, unaware of worldly affairs. On the 4th day, the sky had just begun to brighten slightly. Dong! The entire camp suddenly heard a bell ringing, awakening everyone present. All the martial artists walked out of their tents and saw that Xiao Zhan and others were already standing on the open space in the middle of the camp, waiting for everyone. Everyone! Today is the preliminary competition of the 5 nations, follow me. Xiao Zhan shouted in a low voice, and immediately led everyone forward. Where are we going? Qin Chen asked curiously and suspiciously. Young Master Chen, you don't know. We are going to the trial area of the Demon Ancestor mountain range. Wang Qiming said from the side. The preliminary competition is in the Demon Ancestor mountain range. We don't need to go back. Qin Chen was dumbfounded. Of course we don't need to go back. The preliminary competition has always been in the Demon Ancestor mountain range in the past. Otherwise, why would so many forces martial artists all come to this Demon Ancestor mountain range? Wang Qiming was speechless. Young Master Chen didn't even know this. It seems so. Qin Chen also suddenly realized. Indeed, in this valley outside the blood spirit pool, there are not only forces that are qualified to enter the blood spirit pool, but also some geniuses from other forces. They came here, they can't just be here to watch them receive the baptism, right? The others around them nearly stumbled upon hearing their conversation, their faces pale as they looked at Qin Chen with disbelief and wiped away cold sweat. Qin Chen was simply too amazing, actually not even knowing where the preliminary round of the 5 Nations tournament was being held. How could he be so indifferent to the competition? Yet, such a person had obtained the opportunity to enter the blood spirit pool. It was truly unfair. Amidst resentment and indignation, the crowd had no choice but to trudge forward. In the distance, mountain ranges began to emerge. It took them more than an hour to walk before they finally stopped. Ahead of them was a vast mountain forest, where the top experts from various forces had already gathered with their respective geniuses. In front of the forest was a stone platform, where an old man with white hair and beard stood proudly, surveying the crowd. Wang Qiming whispered, Young Master Chen, this person is Wei Tianming, the #1 expert of the Great Liang Kingdom, and also the #1 expert of the Northwest 5 Nations. He broke through to the late peak stage of the 4th Order Profound Realm as early as 20 years ago. Now, he is only 1 step away from the 5th Order Sect Realm and is known as a half-step Grandmaster. He is the strongest expert closest to the Sect Realm in the entire Northwest 5 Nations. Among the Northwest 5 Nations, there were no 5th Order Sect Realm experts yet, so a half-step Grandmaster was already the strongest. Of course, this was only among the various countries in the Northwest. Within the sects, The sect masters of the Lingtian sect and the Ghost Immortal sect were also at the half-step grandmaster level, only one step away from the sect realm. Therefore, all the experts of the Northwest 5 nations were focused on breaking through to the sect realm. As long as they broke through, they would become the undisputed #1 expert in the entire Northwest. Indeed, there is a portion of true energy in his body beginning to transform towards the 5th order sect realm. Unfortunately, due to his age, the vitality in his body has begun to decline. If he doesn't have some fortuitous encounter, the hope of breaking through to the sect realm in this lifetime is less than 30%. Qin Chen saw through Wei Tianming's condition with a single glance. Wei Tianming's gaze swept across the field, and a powerful aura emanated from his body as he said, "This year, we, the Northwest 5 nations, have a total of more than 1,700 young martial artists participating in the preliminary round of the 5 Nations tournament. The 5 Nations tournament is divided into 2 rounds. The first round is a survival trial, the second round is an arena duel. As long as you pass the first round, you will receive rewards provided by our 5 nations. The top 20 in the arena duel will receive even more generous rewards. I hope you all seize this opportunity. Now, I will announce the rules of the first round, the survival trial. The location of the trial is this vast mountain forest in front of you. There are many powerful blood beasts inside. Your task is to survive inside for more than 5 days and hunt enough blood beasts. However, rest assured, everyone. The 4th order and above blood beasts inside have already been cleared out by us. The strongest are only 3rd order heaven realm blood beasts. You only need to hunt 1 heaven realm beast, or 3 late stage earth realm beasts, or 10 mid stage earth realm beasts, or 20 early stage earth realm beasts to pass the first round of assessment. The proof of assessment is the blood crystal of the blood beast. At the end of the assessment, we will only recognize the blood crystal, not the person. Wei Tianming announced the rules from above, and the martial artists from various forces below all gasped. Hunting 3 late-stage Earth realm blood beasts is too exaggerated. Blood beasts roam the mountains and forests, often fighting each other. Although they have no intelligence, their combat instincts are terrifying. Moreover, their physical bodies are strong. Under normal circumstances, a late-stage peak Earth realm martial artist may not even be able to kill a late-stage Earth realm blood beast. To pass the assessment, one must hunt 3 of them. It's simply too difficult. With our cultivation, we can only hunt mid-stage Earth realm blood beasts, which means we need 10 of them. However, early-stage Earth realm blood beasts are obviously much weaker than mid-stage Earth realm beasts, and the number required is only 20. It seems much easier. HMPH, you're thinking too easily. Think about it. With so many of us, if we all want to pass the assessment, we need to hunt at least 30,000 early-stage Earth realm blood beasts. What a huge number is that? That's right. And do you think blood beasts are idiots? Once they realize they can't win, they will definitely run away. In 5 days, we need to hunt 20 early-stage Earth realm blood beasts, which means we need to hunt 4 per day. It's simply impossible. Qin Chen also nodded secretly. Hunting low-level blood beasts seemed to give everyone hope, but in reality, it was extremely difficult to do. The rules set for the preliminary round were basically intended to eliminate 80% to 90% of the martial artists. Don't forget, the assessment only recognizes blood crystals, not people. In other words, everyone can plunder the blood crystals from others' hands, a martial artist suddenly said in a deep voice. Everyone's eyes narrowed, and they became secretly vigilant. Before participating in the competition, they had already inquired about it. The 5 Nations tournament was always very cruel. Not only did they have to fight powerful blood beasts, but they also had to be wary of other martial artists. Even more so, they had to be more careful of other martial artists. In this world, human hearts were much more terrifying than blood beasts. Wei Tianming paused and continued, to ensure your safety, everyone will receive a teleportation jade token before entering the trial grounds. If you encounter a life-threatening danger, you only need to crush the token to be teleported out. Of course, by the same token, crushing the token means failure of the assessment. The trial will begin in half an hour. Please prepare yourselves. Immediately, Specially arranged personnel began to distribute the jade tokens. This should be a teleportation jade token uniformly made by the Continental Array Master Guild. Qin Chen's mental power swept over it, understanding the structure inside. This kind of teleportation jade token was very basic. There would be a gap of about 1 second between crushing it and teleporting, and this time was enough for other experts to kill the opponent. No wonder the mortality rate is still so high every year, even with the teleportation jade token. Half an hour passed quickly. The Great Qi Kingdom had a total of 185 martial artists participating in this assessment. Before entering, they were all gathered together. Xiozan said solemnly, "I have only one requirement, and that is to come back alive. Let's go." As soon as he finished speaking, a ray of light from a formation suddenly appeared in front of them. One by one, the martial artists stepped into it and then disappeared. To prevent being targeted, the way to enter the trial grounds was through random teleportation via a formation. This would greatly reduce the probability of acquaintances encountering each other. Not far away, Cao Heng and the others from the Great Wei Kingdom stared at the martial artists from the Great Qi Kingdom and sneered, "Everyone, listen up. After entering the trial grounds, kill any martial artists from the Great Qi Kingdom without exception. Whoever kills one will be rewarded with 100,000 silver coins by this prince. Killing a martial artist who has entered the blood spirit pool will be rewarded with a profound realm cultivation technique or a third-order treasure weapon." Hearing Prince Cao Heng's words, the geniuses of the Great Wei Kingdom were all excited. Qin Chen followed the crowd into the formation and felt a white flash before his eyes and his body lighten. When he regained his senses, he was already in a dense jungle. Just now, the formation was activated for a total of 3 breaths, and the array patterns circulated approximately twice. According to the transmission range of the random teleportation array, I should have been teleported more than 300 kilometers away. Qin Chen silently calculated in his mind. He raised his head. Ahead was a continuous mountain range, stretching out of sight. Within the lush and verdant mountain forest, it seemed to conceal endless killing intent. Let's take a look around first. An ordinary person falling into such an unfamiliar environment would undoubtedly be cautious and vigilant. But Qin Chen wore a calm expression, as if on a leisurely outing, strolling through this primeval forest. He had only taken 2 steps when he suddenly stopped. Clang! The mysterious rusty sword appeared in his hand, and Qin Chen nonchalantly thrust it to the side. Bang! The ground to his left front suddenly exploded, and a blood beast the size of a human, resembling a pangolin, burst out from the ground, transforming into a phantom and lunging to bite at Qin Chen. However, Qin Chen's mysterious rusty sword had already been placed in its path. Poochie! The pangolin seemed to commit suicide, brushing past the mysterious rusty sword. Before its savage eyes could even reveal fear, its entire head had already soared into the sky, blood splattering everywhere. Hee, an iron-backed pangolin at the mid-stage of the Earth realm, not bad luck. Digging out a blood crystal the size of a thumb, Qin Chen smiled slightly and put it into his pocket. If others were to witness this scene, they would be greatly astonished. The iron-backed pangolin was an extremely terrifying species among the many mid-stage Earth realm blood beasts. Although its attack was ordinary, its defense was comparable to a late-stage Earth realm blood beast. Furthermore, its ability to burrow underground made its attacks extremely cunning and mysterious. Even ordinary late-stage Earth realm martial artists would find it troublesome and might even perish. Yet, in front of Qin Chen, it was killed with a single strike, leaving people speechless. Kicking the iron-backed pangolin's corpse away, Qin Chen was just about to leave. Abruptly and M-. Buzz. A trace of formation fluctuation suddenly flashed dozens of meters ahead. Immediately after, a ball of white light flashed, and a martial artist appeared in front of Qin Chen. It was actually Luo Jingshan, who had previously come to the Great Qi Kingdom's military camp to provoke them. Upon appearing, this person was first somewhat dazed, and then he cautiously scanned his surroundings. The next moment, a look of wild joy appeared on his face. I didn't expect this genius to have such good luck. As soon as I came in, I encountered a genius from the Great Qi Kingdom, and one who even entered the blood spirit pool. Ha, the heavens are truly treating me well. According to Prince Cao Heng, as long as he killed a genius from the Great Qi Kingdom who entered the blood spirit pool, he would receive a third-order treasured weapon. However, with his cultivation, he naturally wouldn't dare to provoke Qin Feng and the fourth prince. The only ones he could deal with were Qin Chen and Li Qingfeng. But he just happened to encounter Qin Chen as soon as he came in. This was simply the heavens deliberately dropping a pie into his lap. It would be a disservice to himself if he missed such a good opportunity. Die. Afraid that Qin Chen would escape, Luo Jingshan grinned hideously and pounced forward. Boom. His entire body burned with true energy, and a dense flame ignited on his body. Melting flame art and M-, fire of 10,000 melts. The scarlet flames, like a hurricane, swept towards Qin Chen. The flames blazed fiercely, incinerating everything. Where it passed, the air carried a scorching smell, and his cultivation had improved even more compared to when he was in the camp. Looking at Qin Chen, who was standing blankly on the spot, Luo Jingshan revealed a look of wild joy. This kid wasn't even trying to escape. Even if he wanted to crush the jade token now, it was already too late. Before the thought in his mind could settle, he saw Qin Chen below suddenly raise his head and grin at him. Luo Jingshan was stunned. This kid must be an idiot. He's about to die, yet he's still smiling foolishly. The Great Qi Kingdom actually let such an idiot enter the blood spirit pool. The next moment, the monstrous flames engulfed Qin Chen. Phew! The third-order treasured weapon is mine. Landing on the ground, Luo Jingshan grinned, but suddenly his smile froze. The flames dissipated, and Qin Chen was seen unscathed, not even a single hair missing. Luo Jingshan was so shocked that his eyes almost popped out. How was this possible? His melting flame art was infinitely powerful. Even late-stage Earth Realm martial artists could be burned to ashes. This kid had only come out of the blood spirit pool a few days ago, and his cultivation must not have been consolidated yet. How could? Startled, Luo Jingshan raised his hands, ready to attack again. You attacked first, it's my turn now, right? Grinning, a cold glint suddenly flashed in Qin Chen's eyes. Poochie. The next moment, a sword light flashed, Luo Jingshan's eyes widened, his mouth opened wide, and endless fear was revealed in his eyes. Then, a fine head instantly soared into the sky, and blood spurted out 2 zhang away. Until his death, Luo Jingshan didn't see how he died. If you want to kill me, you must be prepared to die. Qin Chen would not show mercy to those who intended to kill him. Searching Luo Jingshan's body, Qin Chen curled his lip. This guy was practically penniless. Turning and leaving, Qin Chen's figure disappeared into the jungle. At this time, in another part of the mountain forest. Cao Heng, we've already given you the blood crystals, don't push it too far, said 2 disciples of the Great Qi Kingdom, holding battle knives, with fierce expressions. Push it too far. Cao Heng sneered. I said, all of you from the Great Qi Kingdom must die. Swish. Swish. 2 black lights burst out from Cao Heng's hands, streaking towards the 2 men. Cao Heng, the 4th prince of our Great Qi Kingdom will not let you go. Roaring sharply, the 2 martial artists of the Great Qi Kingdom simultaneously crushed their jade tokens. Poochie. The array light flashed, and the 2 men simultaneously disappeared into the mountain forest, but in the void, an arm fell to the ground, splattering blood. These 2 guys really run fast. Sneering, Cao Heng glanced at the severed arm on the ground, and his figure flickered, quietly disappearing into the mountain forest. At the same time, in other corners of the mountain forest, the same scene was happening. Wherever disciples of the Great Qi Kingdom and the Great Wei Kingdom encountered each other, a fight would break out. In addition to the Great Wei Kingdom, the disciples of the Ghost Immortal sect were also hunting the geniuses of the Great Qi Kingdom. For them, 5 days was enough time to complete the preliminary task. The most crucial thing at the moment was to hunt down the disciples of the Great Qi Kingdom. In a dense jungle, Qin Feng looked around, his expression indifferent. Qin Chen, you think that by entering this dense jungle, I won't be able to find you. Sneering, Qin Feng took out a pitch-black puppet from his body. This puppet was like a rat, with a pair of crimson eyes, exuding an eerie light. Go. Throwing the puppet rat out, its eyes rolled twice, and with a whoosh, it burrowed out of the jungle and sped forward. Qin Chen, this monster ancestor mountain range will be your burial ground. Sneering, Qin Feng's figure fluttered, following the puppet rat, quickly disappearing into the mountain forest. Outside the trial grounds, this year's Five Nations tournament has finally begun. I wonder how many geniuses will make it to the second round this year. Based on past experience, only about 1/10 of the disciples can make it to the second round, meaning that 90% will be eliminated. Alas, my Tianfeng kingdom never really expected to have many disciples make it to the second round. I only hope that there will be fewer casualties in this round of assessment. A leader from a small country couldn't help but sigh, drawing agreement from other small country experts. For these small countries, participation is key. It's already a blessing if the disciples can come out alive. Gaining experience is enough. They don't expect anyone to make it to the second round. Of course, if by chance 2 disciples could make it through, that would be even better. Look, someone's been eliminated. So fast. The assessment has only just begun, right? Someone's already been eliminated. Just as everyone was discussing, a beam of light suddenly lit up on the high platform to the side. That place is the exit of the teleportation array. Whenever the light appears, it clearly means that someone has been eliminated and is being teleported out. Thump. Asterisk. In full view of everyone, 2 warriors covered in blood fell out of the white light. One of them was missing an arm, and blood spurted wildly from the severed limb. The other had a nearly foot-long wound on his chest, and blood gushed out like a fountain, leaving him almost on the verge of death. Everyone was shocked and looked at each other in dismay. These 2 who were eliminated are too miserable, right? Not only were they eliminated so quickly, but their injuries are so severe, almost fatal. Which forces disciples are these? So unlucky. Qiao Zheng, Zhu Guang, Yu. Seeing the 2, Xiao Zhan rushed forward anxiously, his face filled with shock and anger. He quickly took out 2 pills from his body and fed them to the 2 men. At the same time, Xiao Zhan tapped repeatedly on their wounds with both hands, using his true energy to stop the wounds from spreading. Immediately after, a physician came forward and began to treat them. So they are disciples of the Darky Kingdom. The Darky Kingdom is one of the 5 great powers, yet someone has been eliminated so quickly. There must be something fishy about this. The crowd discussed in secret. At this time, after treatment, the 2 regained consciousness and slowly woke up. Lord Xiao Zhan. Seeing Xiao Zhan, the 2 felt a pang in their noses and burst into tears. Don't worry, you 2 are fine now. By the way, what happened to you? Xiao Zhan asked in a deep voice. The 2 looked at each other, and one of them gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with resentment, and said, "It's Cao Heng from the Dawei Kingdom." Yes, the 2 of us had just been teleported in when we found that we were actually together. We were just about to join forces when we encountered Cao Heng from the Dawei Kingdom. Without saying a word, he first snatched the blood crystal from a blood beast we had hunted earlier, and then viciously attacked the 2 of us. If we hadn't crushed the jade token at the first moment, I'm afraid we would have died in the trial grounds. It's him. Xiao Zhan's face darkened, and a cold light shot out from his eyes. Ha ha ha. Well done. As expected of the 3rd prince, His Highness. He is indeed decisive. It's just a pity that he acted too lightly and didn't kill these 2 wastes. Suddenly, a mocking voice came. Gu King of the Dawei Kingdom sneered. What did you say? Xiao Zhan turned his head and glared angrily. What? Did I say something wrong? The survival trial is about the survival of the fittest. If you are weak, you will be eliminated. You can only blame your own lack of strength and not blame others. Gu King sneered. That's right. If a disciple from my Dawei Kingdom is eliminated, not only will I not comfort him, but I will severely punish him. Unlike some countries, when the disciples are eliminated, they still cry and wail, thinking they are 3-year-old children. Yu Qicheng also sneered. Ha ha, ha ha ha. The disciples of the Dawei Kingdom all laughed. Damn it. Xiao Zhan gritted his teeth but had nothing to say. The survival trial is a time to compete in strength. If you are inferior in skill, if you make a big fuss, you will lose even more face in front of other kingdoms. Let's go back. Having people carry Qiao Zheng and Zhu Guang, Xiao Zhan and the others returned to their encampment. Buzz. Buzz, buzz. However, in the following time, people were constantly eliminated from the formation. Among them, disciples from the Darky Kingdom accounted for almost half. Every one who came out was covered in blood and in a terrible state. Some of them almost didn't survive. In just 3 hours, a full 30 disciples from the Darky Kingdom had already been eliminated. Upon inquiring, almost all of them were attacked by disciples from the Dewey Kingdom and the Guixian sect. Whenever they met, it was bound to be a bloody fight. Xiao Zhan's face was extremely gloomy. In just 3 hours, so many as 30 people have been eliminated. After 5 days, when the preliminary trial ends, how many disciples from the Darky Kingdom will be left? What worried Xiao Zhan even more was that so many disciples had been eliminated, and there must be some who didn't have time to crush the Jade Token and were killed by the Dewey Kingdom and the Guixian sect. How many disciples are there in this part? The Dewey Kingdom and the Guixian sect were all smiles, especially Qin Chen, who sneered from time to time, causing Xiao Zhan to become furious and almost explode. Xiao Zhan, Xiao Zhan, weren't you very arrogant in the past? Today, Qin Chen, will let you know what the consequences of offending my Dewey Kingdom are. In this year's 5 Nations tournament, don't even think that anyone from your Darky Kingdom can make it into the top 10. The more angry Xiao Zhan became, the happier Qin Chen felt. Seeing the fierce fighting between the Darky Kingdom and the Dewey Kingdom, the warriors from other forces were also worried. It seems that this year's 5 Nations tournament is not peaceful. The infighting between the two great powers is definitely not a good thing for these small forces. For a time, many small forces secretly prayed in their hearts, hoping that the struggle between these two great powers would not affect them. The solemn atmosphere outside the trial grounds did not affect the people training in the mountains and forests. In the dense jungle, Qin Chen strolled leisurely. The heaven and earth true energy here is very rich, and it can even nurture places like the spiritual marrow pool. This demon ancestor mountain range must be hiding some secrets. Feeling the spiritual energy between heaven and earth, Qin Chen stared into the distance, lost in thought. He had read the Darky Kingdom's library and knew that the Northwest 5 kingdoms should be located in the extremely northwest part of the Tianwu Continent, which was very remote and barren. In his previous life, he had never heard of this place, but after being reborn, he found that this place was extraordinary. A mountain range that can nurture a spiritual marrow pool must be hiding huge secrets, and such a mountain range must also be full of dangers. What's more, Qin Chen had also inquired that the mysterious iron sword in his hand came from a relic in the St. Luo secret realm, and that St. Luo secret realm was located in this demon ancestor mountain range. This mysterious iron sword is obviously an item from before the Dark Ages. Until now, Qin Chen has not been able to figure out its origin, which also makes Qin Chen more and more curious about this demon ancestor mountain range. Once my cultivation is stronger, I can explore it carefully. Just as I was thinking this, a battle suddenly erupted ahead. Going forward to take a look, I saw a young martial artist fighting a grade Earth initial stage Azure Phoenix Spiral Leopard. This person's cultivation was at the peak of the grade Earth initial stage. Clearly, he was a disciple from a small force, locked in a difficult battle with the Azure Phoenix Spiral Leopard. Although his saber technique wasn't very powerful, it showed great comprehension. Apart from having a lower cultivation level, his battle talent was extremely high. His battle saber danced, forming a whirlwind, forcing the Azure Phoenix Spiral Leopard to retreat repeatedly, its body covered in wounds. That Azure Phoenix Spiral Leopard is finished. Qin Chen shook his head slightly upon seeing this. Sure enough, after 5 breaths, the Azure Phoenix Spiral Leopard was forced into a corner. After letting out a sorrowful roar, it was killed on the spot. Who? The young martial artist was just about to collect the blood crystal when he suddenly sensed something. He abruptly looked towards Qin Chen's location, his expression changing drastically. It's a genius from one of the 5 great nations. Whoosh! Without hesitation, the young martial artist didn't even dare to collect the Azure Phoenix Spiral Leopard's blood crystal and immediately turned to flee. Am I that scary? Looking at the departing figure, Qin Chen was dumbfounded. Little did he know that in the eyes of geniuses from other small forces, the geniuses from the 5 great nations were like ferocious tigers and beasts. Just as that person was about to disappear into the forest, a blade of light suddenly flashed from an unknown location. The blade light was as fast as lightning, and in a flash, the small Force genius's eyes widened in horror as his body split into two while running, falling heavily to the ground, blood flowing everywhere. Qin Chen's pupils suddenly contracted. Hey, a Great Earth initial stage trash dares to participate in the Five Nations tournament. He's really courting death. A martial artist wearing a close-fitting robe walked out from under a large tree not far away, a hideous smile on his lips. It's a genius from the Great Wei Nation, who seems to have also entered the blood spirit pool for baptism. Qin Chen stopped and looked at the person. The Great Wei Nation martial artist searched the body of the deceased, found 2 blood crystals, curled his lip, and said with disappointment, "Only 2 Great Earth initial stage blood beast blood crystals, what trash." Then, he turned his head, looked at Qin Chen, and sneered, "But my luck is good. I actually encountered a genius from the Great Qi Nation, ha, and one who even entered the blood spirit pool." Qin Chen frowned and said, "You kill people just for blood crystals. Don't you have a shred of compassion?" Compassion? What's that? The Great Wei Nation martial artist didn't expect Qin Chen to not run away upon seeing him. He couldn't help but narrow his eyes and laugh. "I really didn't expect you to be so brave. You don't think you can compete with me, do you?" Qin Chen said expressionlessly, "Are you so sure you can kill me?" The Great Wei Nation martial artist laughed loudly and said, "You think entering the blood spirit pool makes you amazing?" Qin Chen, the grandson of Great Qi Nation's Prince Tianwu, the champion of this year's Heavenly Star Academy year-end examination, am I right? You investigated me. Qin Chen's eyes narrowed. Ha, you're thinking too much. We have information on all the geniuses from the Great Qi Nation who entered the blood spirit pool, but it's mainly for investigating the 4th prince and the Qin Feng. You're just a side note. Someone who got lost in the blood spirit pool isn't worth my interest. The only thing that interests me is your identity of entering the blood spirit pool. You probably don't know, but Prince Cao Heng has already said that anyone who kills any of the Great Qi Nation's geniuses who entered the blood spirit pool will receive a rank 3 treasure weapon. The Great Wei Nation martial artist laughed. A rank 3 treasure weapon, you really think highly of me. But it depends on whether you can get it. Qin Chen smiled indifferently. His life was only worth a rank 3 treasure weapon. That was too cheap. Ha, taking your head is as easy as pie. The Great Wei Nation martial artist stared at Qin Chen. "It seems that your identity of entering the blood spirit pool has made you mistakenly believe you can contend against me. How laughable. Now I'll let you know just how big the gap between you and me is, even though we both entered the blood spirit pool." The Great Wei Nation martial artist suddenly drew his battle saber. In a flash, he crossed dozens of meters, appearing before Qin Chen as if in the blink of an eye, and slashed down fiercely. The battle saber hummed, suddenly erupting with a terrifying aura. Countless array patterns floated on it. It was actually a rank 2 treasure weapon, and an excellent one at that. Boom! Streams of true chi blade winds shot out from the battle saber, turning into layers of hurricanes that enveloped Qin Chen, carrying terrifying cutting power, as if they could cut through the air. Whoosh! Qin Chen retreated rapidly, dodging the attack. Boom! The dense blade wind slashed onto the ground. The boulder that Qin Chen had been standing on was instantly torn apart, turning into dust. The shooting saber energy shattered the surrounding trees into sawdust. Several large trees collapsed with a rumble, dust flying everywhere. Want to dodge? Can you dodge? Heavenly character slash. The Great Wei Nation martial artist shouted loudly, gripping the battle saber with both hands and slashing forward fiercely. A black saber energy suddenly erupted from the blade. The saber energy was sharp and cut forward, the scattered saber energy plowing a long gully in the ground. Boom! The surrounding rocks and trees exploded one after another. An invisible power of the saber enveloped the surroundings. Everything enveloped by this power was under this power of the saber, locked in place. Under that saber energy, Qin Chen felt an invisible force locking onto him. It seemed that no matter how he dodged, he couldn't escape. "Since you don't want me to dodge, why bother dodging?" Qin Chen smiled. The iron sword instantly appeared in his hand, true chi gathering within it, and he slashed out with a sword. Clear wind swordplay. Clear wind swordplay was a set of sword techniques that Qin Chen cultivated in his previous life. It was very simple and unadorned, yet it contained the principle of the great Tao being simple. Ha ha ha. A dignified genius from the great Qi nation is actually holding a rusty sword. Do you not have a weapon? Seeing Qin Chen's weapon, the other party was shocked and almost burst out laughing. But the attack in his hands did not diminish in the slightest, and the true Qi in his body was urged to the extreme. Bang! Two powerful forces collided together, making a violent roar. More than a dozen trees around them exploded, and a huge pit appeared on the ground between the two of them, with countless rocks shattering. The overwhelming saber energy shattered, but the sword energy that Qin Chen slashed out was unstoppable, and was not annihilated, continuing to sweep forward. What? The Great Wei Nation martial artist's expression changed drastically. He roared and chopped at the sword energy that Qin Chen slashed out. PFFT. Opening his mouth and spitting out a mouthful of blood, the Great Wei Nation martial artist staggered back a dozen steps before barely stabilizing his body, suffering considerable internal injuries. In contrast, Qin Chen stood still, like a rock. How is this possible? You're only 15 or 16 years old, how can you be this strong? The warrior from the Great Wei dynasty wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, looking at Qin Chen in front of him in disbelief. In his opinion, Qin Chen was too young. Although both of them had reached the late stage of the Earth realm, they were simply not comparable. After all, he was already at the peak of the middle stage of the Earth realm before entering the blood spirit pool, while the other party seemed to be only at the early stage of the Earth realm before entering the blood spirit pool. Moreover, Qin Chen was so young to have reached this level of cultivation, he must have consumed a lot of elixirs and rare treasures. Even if his cultivation was high, the true energy in his body must be very weak, and his combat experience must be far inferior to his own. Unexpectedly, after exchanging blows, he was actually at a disadvantage. I didn't expect you to be still alive. Seeing that the other party was only injured, Qin Chen couldn't help but shake his head. With just one sword strike, he only used less than 10% of his power. According to his calculations, this less than 10% of power was enough to break through the opponent's defense. But the result was only to injure the other party, which made Qin Chen couldn't help but feel disappointed. Just now, the timing of my sword strike was not very good. If I had paused for another breath before striking, waiting for the opponent's attack to weaken, I'm afraid one sword would have been enough to kill him. Or, if the angle of my sword was shifted upwards by an inch, I could have killed him as well. Qin Chen was still secretly analyzing his mistakes and learning from them. If it were before, he definitely wouldn't have been like this, but after being reborn, his cultivation changed, and he was a little unsure of himself, which led to this situation. Why not use this guy in front of me to practice? Looking at the other party, Qin Chen's eyes lit up. Qin Chen shook his head and muttered, feeling depressed, while the warrior from the Great Wei dynasty was so angry that he almost exploded. Damn you, you already had the upper hand in the previous exchange, and you're still shaking your head and sighing, what are you pretending for? Do you think you can definitely defeat me? Ridiculous. With a roar, a cyan aura suddenly emerged from the warrior of the Great Wei dynasty, and the power on his body was increasing at an alarming rate. Is this a power-type bloodline? Qin Chen was surprised. Ha ha ha, that's right. The warrior from the Great Wei dynasty laughed wildly, full of confidence. The bloodline I awakened is the legendary second-grade Azure Stone bloodline. Once activated, my power can be increased by more than double. Did you think that just because you injured me just now, you can definitely win? He laughed and regained his confidence, his body like a mad dragon, pouncing towards Qin Chen. This time, the aura on his body was even stronger. The strong wind generated by his flight alone caused a violent sonic boom, and all the surrounding trees were shaking in the wind. This scene was too frightening, enough to move mountains and fill seas. But Qin Chen's eyes were shining, extremely excited. Good. He put away the rusty sword and rushed up. Boom. The two bodies collided in the void, as if thunder was ringing, blasting the rocks on the ground to pieces, plowing out a gully several meters in diameter. This was simply too strong. If ordinary warriors saw this scene, they would definitely be frightened. The power of Earth Realm warriors could actually be so strong, it was unbelievable. Boom boom boom. Sonic booms came. Qin Chen was fighting fiercely with the opponent. Both sides abandoned their weapons, and instead used iron fists to fight head-on. The two men traversed the mountains and forests, and wherever they passed, trees were blown up one by one. The scene was really a bit scary. It's just that neither side had the upper hand, as if they were evenly matched, and neither could do anything to the other. How is this possible? How can your power be so strong? The warrior from the Great Wei dynasty shouted, his eyes wide, in disbelief. He had already activated his bloodline, and his power had increased by at least double, but he still didn't have an absolute advantage. What was going on? According to normal circumstances, the other party should have been blown up by him long ago. The other party looked young, but how could the power contained in his body be so terrifying? I don't believe it. Your power can't be stronger than mine. The warrior from the Great Wei dynasty roared, the true energy on his body bloomed, glowing with brilliance, even more surging. Even his chi pool was agitated, doing his best. At this moment, his power increased by another 1/5 or so. Bang! This time, Qin Chen was knocked away, retreating more than 10 meters, his legs plowing 2 gullies on the rocky ground before stopping. But then, he was alive and kicking again, waving his fists and fighting back. The warrior from the Great Wei dynasty was almost vomiting blood. Was this guy made of iron? How could he be okay after taking a punch? He couldn't help but feel timid in his heart. So strong, I can't hold on anymore. At this moment, Qin Chen shouted, looking like he was doing his best and about to give up. This immediately reignited the other party's confidence, with a feeling that he could blow Qin Chen up with just a little more effort. Die! The warrior from the Great Wei dynasty roared, his eyes wide, his hair standing on end, even more violent. Boom boom boom. One iron fist after another poured down on Qin Chen. Each punch was extremely terrifying, capable of blowing up a late-stage peak Earth Realm warrior. Even ordinary early-stage Heaven Realm warriors might not be able to withstand it and would be seriously injured. Well, this punch is a little too heavy. This punch is a little too light. Oh. This punch is just right. That's the effect I want. In the fierce battle, Qin Chen retreated, carefully pondering and familiarizing himself with his own power. In the blood spirit pool, he broke through to the late-stage peak of the Earth Realm in one fell swoop, which made Qin Chen not have the ultimate control over his own power, and there was a slight difference in each exertion of force. Ordinary warriors would not pay attention to this kind of difference at all, but in Qin Chen's view, it was unforgivable. The warriors he had encountered before were too weak, and now he finally found one that was barely okay. How could he simply let it go? In order to prevent the other party from being scared away, Qin Chen even deliberately put himself at a disadvantage, with a feeling that he was about to be unable to resist. Not good. Damn it. Damn. With wide eyes, Qin Chen kept retreating in the battle, looking like he was about to be blown up. This made the other party even more excited, constantly burning the power in his body. Even to the point that the warrior from the Great Wei dynasty had red skin, steaming with heat, and even his essence blood began to burn. Oh dear, I almost got blown up. Just a little bit more. Hush. Thank goodness. If the power of this punch was a little stronger, I estimate I wouldn't be able to hold on. Qin Chen shouted in horror. The Great Wei Kingdom martial artist was about to give up, but Qin Chen gradually became familiar with his own strength in the battle. At first, his exertion of power was still slightly off, but later, every punch could achieve the effect he wanted, with almost no mistakes. Damn it! In the end, the Great Wei Kingdom martial artist finally couldn't bear it anymore. The long-term operation of his bloodline caused his body to be severely overloaded, and blood seeped from his pores. No. If this continues, I myself will soon be unable to hold on. This kid is simply evil. I'd better leave first. With a change of mind, the Great Wei Kingdom martial artist tried his best to throw a punch, and then, his figure suddenly retreated, blasting towards the distant mountains and forests. Kid, you wait. I swear I won't be a human if I don't kill you. The Great Wei Kingdom martial artist was so angry that he was about to go crazy. If it spread out that he couldn't even take down a little kid like Qin Chen, he would probably become a laughing stock among the other martial artists of the Great Wei Kingdom. He's leaving already. That's so boring. I was really almost unable to hold on. Seeing that the other party wanted to leave, Qin Chen couldn't help but shout anxiously. The Great Wei Kingdom martial artist staggered, almost falling, and couldn't help but curse in his heart. Almost. How many times have you said, almost? The speed of his escape couldn't help but skyrocket even faster. Seeing that the other party was determined to escape, Qin Chen looked disappointed. Forget it. I'm almost familiar enough. It's time to end this. His expression convergence, Qin Chen's eyes turned cold, and his legs slammed on the ground. Bang! The rock under his feet exploded, and Qin Chen's figure shot out like an arrow, catching up with the Great Wei Kingdom martial artist in the blink of an eye. What? The Great Wei Kingdom martial artist turned his head while running and saw Qin Chen approaching rapidly. His eyes suddenly widened, revealing a look of horror. If the Great Wei Kingdom martial artist didn't understand that he was being played by Qin Chen by now, then he would be too idiotic. Heaven opening, earth splitting. Enveloped by the shadow of death, the Great Wei Kingdom martial artist roared, urging the true energy and bloodline in his body to the extreme, and threw a punch back, while pinching the jade token with his left hand, ready to crush it at any time. Die! Qin Chen shouted lowly and threw a punch, colliding with the Great Wei Kingdom martial artist's fist. Poochie! The Great Wei Kingdom martial artist widened his horrified eyes, his body split into pieces and exploded instantly, falling on the spot. He didn't even have time to crush the jade token. I originally just wanted to cripple you, but you killed innocent people and your hands are stained with blood, so I can only kill you. Landing on the ground, Qin Chen shook his head. If the other party hadn't casually killed the genius of that small force before, Qin Chen would have at most crippled him, but the other party had recklessly killed people earlier, and Qin Chen understood in his heart that this person must be a vicious person. Not killing him would only allow him to continue harming others. For this kind of genius martial artist with a huge force behind them, even if their cultivation is crippled, they can still do evil. Taking a light breath, Qin Chen searched the other party's body. He actually found a storage ring. This person is definitely a genius from a large force in the Great Wei Kingdom. Qin Chen thought to himself. Ordinary martial artists cannot possess treasures like storage rings. With his mental power erasing the other party's mark, Qin Chen opened the storage ring, and at this sight, his gaze suddenly condensed. He saw that in this storage ring, there were more than a dozen blood crystals. This was nothing, but there were also many silver notes and secret manuals inside. What angered Qin Chen was the stamp on the silver notes, many of which actually came from different cities in the Great Qi Kingdom. In the Tianwu Continent, all silver notes are monopolized by the 4 major silver firms. These 4 major silver firms are the leading forces in the Tianwu Continent, and even in the martial domain, they possess extremely terrifying energy. This is very normal. But every silver note has its own stamp. For example, the silver notes of the same Tianwu silver firm are issued by the Xuanyi City branch of the Great Qi Kingdom, and some are issued by the Huishi City of the Great Qi Kingdom. The stamps on them are different. And now, Qin Chen actually found many silver notes from different city stamps of the Great Qi Kingdom from this Great Wei Kingdom martial artist. This can only mean that the other party had killed at least several martial artists from the Great Qi Kingdom. Otherwise, how could a genius from the Great Wei Kingdom possess so many silver notes from the Great Qi Kingdom's silver firms? Great Wei Kingdom, huh? Putting away the storage ring, Qin Chen's eyes were cold. Although he didn't have much special emotion towards the Great Qi Kingdom, he was, after all, a member of the Great Qi Kingdom. Thinking that the martial artists of the Great Wei Kingdom were frantically slaughtering the martial artists of his Great Qi Kingdom in this mountain forest, Qin Chen's heart was still stirred up quite a bit. In that case, I'll continue to practice with your geniuses from the Great Wei Kingdom. Immediately, Qin Chen hid in the mountains and forests and began to search for the traces of the Great Wei Kingdom martial artists. The martial artists of the Great Wei Kingdom were acting very arrogantly in this mountain forest, and soon, Qin Chen encountered a few of them. These martial artists of the Great Wei Kingdom were originally hunting down the disciples of the Great Qi Kingdom everywhere in the mountains and forests. After seeing Qin Chen, Almost all of them were so excited that they couldn't add to it, and took the lead in attacking with murderous intent. So in this mountain forest, such shouts were heard everywhere. Almost there. Damn it. How are you so strong? That was close. I almost died. Just a little bit. Every time he encountered a disciple of the Great Wei Kingdom, Qin Chen suppressed his cultivation to temper his combat skills, becoming more and more familiar with his physical body. In the end, Qin Chen was even precise to cutting off 1/3 of the other party's hair, and would never cut off 2/3. His hands and eyes were completely integrated together. In one night, the number of Great Wei Kingdom disciples who died at Qin Chen's hands also reached 11. And on each of these 11 people, Qin Chen searched for silver notes and treasures from other countries. Obviously all of them had blood on their hands. Only killed 11, and where did those top geniuses of the Great Wei Kingdom run off to? Qin Chen frowned. So far, apart from the martial artist from the Great Wei Kingdom at the beginning, Qin Chen has not yet encountered any other geniuses from the Great Wei Kingdom who entered the blood spirit pool. This mountain forest is too big. It's not easy to find a few people. Just when Qin Chen was planning to continue hunting. Suddenly, his footsteps stopped, and his figure suddenly retreated. Danger. Poochie. A sword light shot out from a big tree not far away, so fast that people didn't have time to blink, instantly splitting a rock under Qin Chen's feet in half. After the rock was split open, it fell on the ground and instantly turned into dust. If Qin Chen hadn't dodged in time, this sword would have been no small matter if it had hit him. To cultivate the extremely destructive swordsmanship to the point of moisturizing things silently, it is by no means an ordinary genius. Why is it her again? However, a wry smile appeared on the corner of Qin Chen's mouth, and he looked towards the depths of the mountain forest. You lecher, I finally found you. Let's see where you run this time. A low shout. A graceful figure jumped down from the big tree. It was Lingqian sect's Yu Changxiu. She held a shimmering treasured sword, wore a silk feather dress, and had a curvaceous figure, creating a strong visual contrast in this desolate mountain forest. With such a figure and appearance, no man would be unmoved, captivated, unable to take his eyes away. However, in Qin Chen's eyes, there was no infatuation, only helplessness and a wry smile. The Lingtian sect was one of the top sects within the Northwest Five Nations, known for its swordsmanship, a veritable powerhouse of the sword. Yu Changxiu was the most outstanding genius of the Lingtian sect in a century. After being baptized in the blood spirit pool, she was only 19 years old and had already reached the mid-stage of the heaven realm. Moreover, she had also comprehended sword intent. It should be known that among all the top geniuses of the Northwest Five Nations this time, only Qin Feng and Nian Wuji had also reached the mid-stage of the heaven realm, but their ages were all above Yu Changxiu. Qin Chen, you took advantage of me in the blood spirit pool. Today, I, Yu Changxiu, will definitely let you, this lecher, know what regret is. Yu Changxiu raised her sword, her eyes filled with anger, but she was also very surprised. Because the sword strike just now was not held back. She had already unleashed 70% of her power. Even a martial artist in the early stage of the heaven realm would be seriously injured by a single sword strike. She didn't expect Qin Chen to be able to dodge it. She was very curious about how Qin Chen had detected her sword strike. I've already said that what happened that day was just an accident. Why can't you understand? Qin Chen was speechless. This woman was too stubborn. Accident. Do you think I'll believe that? Whether you believe it or not, it was an accident. And, to be honest, I didn't see anything at all. Is there any need to make such a fuss? Make a fuss. Yu Changxiu was about to explode with anger. The two of them were naked in one place. Although the water of the blood spirit pool obscured them, many places had already been seen. If that wasn't enough, what else did he want to see? HMPH. Enough nonsense. I won't kill you, but you can be spared the death penalty, but not the living one. From now on, don't even think about practicing martial arts again, lest you, this lecher, harm others. Yu Changxiu's eyes became sharp as she mobilized the true energy in her body, continuously inputting it into the sword. Buzz. The surface of the sword glowed with dazzling light, and an astonishing aura spread out. It's actually a third-order treasured weapon. Qin Chen clicked his tongue, his brow furrowed. It seems like there's some trouble. This Yu Changxu's cultivation was already extremely high, reaching the mid-stage of the heaven realm, and she had also comprehended sword intent. Her strength was extraordinary. He didn't expect that the weapon she possessed was also a third-order treasured weapon. The combination of these three made her strength instantly reach an unimaginable level. Clang! As Qin Chen frowned, Yu Changxu suddenly moved. Her figure was like a startled swan, and with a flash of her feet, she instantly arrived in front of Qin Chen. The sword light flowed, transforming into a hazy sword flower, stabbing straight towards Qin Chen's chest. In just an instant, the cold tip of the sword arrived inches in front of Qin Chen. The sharp sword energy even penetrated the void and had already vaguely pierced into Qin Chen's body. Fighting that group of trash from the Great Wei Kingdom was too boring. I'll just use this Yu Changxu to practice. A thought flashed through his mind like lightning. Qin Chen pushed off the ground with his feet and dodged to the side. Swish! The sharp sword energy pierced through the void and instantly struck a large tree not far away. With a poof sound, the sword entered the wood, and the entire tree exploded, turning into dust. Dodged it. Yu Changxu was surprised, her eyebrows raised. If Qin Chen's previous dodge could be explained as an accident, then this time, dodging again, it could definitely not be said to be an accident. This kid is a bit strange. Yu Changxu didn't dare to underestimate Qin Chen. Although his cultivation was only at the late stage peak of the Earth realm, he was able to pass through the soul bewitching formation in the blood spirit pool, and now he had dodged her attacks one after another. This was definitely not something an ordinary person could do. However, no matter what special abilities he has, if I want to cripple him today, he can forget about escaping. Swish! With one move missing, Yu Changxu followed up with a change of move. Her arm shook, and the flowing light sword rotated in the void, coming to Qin Chen's side in a flash, so fast that it was unimaginable. The flowing light sword seemed to have become a part of her body, requiring no additional control at all, pointing wherever it was aimed, very freely. But Qin Chen swayed, actually dodging again. The sword light brushed past his body, only an inch away from his skin. HMPH. With a low grunt, Yu Changxu continued to follow up, the sword light flashing, like starlight flowing, constantly approaching Qin Chen. But Qin Chen's figure was like a dream, his legs transforming into afterimages, constantly retreating. The sword light constantly flowed around him, each time only a hair's breadth away, but always unable to stab his body. Damn it! Heavenly Maiden scattering flowers. Yu Changxu took a deep breath, her eyes slightly narrowed, and she unleashed a mid-stage profound level sword technique. In an instant, sword light filled the sky, enveloping Qin Chen. Countless sword flowers appeared in the world, one after another, exploding layer upon layer in the void, beautiful and magnificent, sealing off all the space around Qin Chen. At the same time, an astonishing sword aura enveloped Qin Chen. In the world, it seemed that only this piece of sword light remained. No matter how he dodged, he could not escape the range of the sword light. Good sword technique. Qin Chen couldn't help but speak, his eyes shining. In Qin Chen's view, a mid-stage profound level sword technique could only be considered trash, very ordinary. But when this Yu Changxu used it, she expressed the sword intent of the Heavenly Maiden scattering flowers vividly. In a remote place like the Northwest Five Nations, being able to do this was not easy. This brat, he's still evaluating at this time. Only, when Yu Changxu heard Qin Chen's words, she almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He's about to die, and he's still so calm. Doesn't this guy have a problem with his brain? It's a pity that although there is a Heavenly Maiden, the flower intent is not strong enough. What a pity, what a pity, Qin Chen sighed again. What do you know? Her eyes sharp, Yu Changxu whispered, a smile on her lips. This guy actually dared to evaluate her sword technique, not even looking at his own virtue. Her sword technique was even praised by her father, who couldn't find any flaws. What could a guy like him possibly know? Only, before the disdain in Yu Changxu's heart could settle, Qin Chen, who was wrapped in sword flowers, suddenly stopped retreating. It's about time. Two sharp rays shot out from Qin Chen's eyes. He raised his right hand, pinched his index and middle fingers into a sword finger, and stabbed fiercely towards the center of the sword light. This guy, is he courting death? Yu Changxiu was taken aback. She knew the power of her heavenly maiden scattering flowers better than anyone. If Qin Chen were to resist with all his strength, he might only be seriously injured, with a chance of survival. But if he counterattacked, it would definitely trigger the rebound of the sword intent. At that time, the power of the sword technique would increase sharply, instantly turning him into pieces, something even she couldn't control. This guy, Yu Changxiu sighed. She could already imagine Qin Chen's fate after this sword strike. She couldn't help but close her eyes. Although Yu Changxiu said she wanted to kill Qin Chen several times, it was only out of anger. In fact, she just wanted to give Qin Chen a painful lesson to let him know the consequences of spying on her. Who knew that Qin Chen would fight to the death to counter her sword move? This was simply courting death. Just when she was struggling in her heart and didn't dare to open her eyes to look. Suddenly, a strange aura came from the front. This aura was like a peerless swordsman roaming the martial world. It was also like a peerless sword being unsheathed, shocking the world. Yu Changxiu couldn't help but open her eyes. Then she saw that Qin Chen's body was rising with an unprecedented aura, an astonishing sword intent, shooting out from his finger, and then pointing at the void of her sword move. Poochie. The flawless sword move instantly shattered, and the sky full of sword light, like falling dominoes, was instantly broken. That finger sword actually broke through all her sword light, like a celestial being from outside the sky, unstoppable. Yu Changxiu was stunned. How could it be? How is it possible? And she muttered to herself, with an urge to cry. Her sword move, which she had painstakingly practiced for more than 10 years, was instantly broken by a late-stage peak Earth realm martial artist, who was even 2 years younger than her. That kind of psychological impact made Yu Changxiu's face pale, and she couldn't react for a while. She started practicing swords at the age of 3, mastered sword moves at the age of 5, and was able to perform a complete set of sword skills at the age of 7. She was known as a peerless genius in the Lingqian sect. All along, Yu Changxiu had never encountered an opponent in swordsmanship. She had always thought that she was the top genius in swordsmanship in the entire Northwest 5 nations. She had even made a decision that after winning the first place for the Lingqian sect in this 5 nations tournament, she would leave the Northwest and go to the vast continent for higher level cultivation. At this moment, Qin Chen's finger instantly shattered her inner longing. She carefully recalled that Qin Chen's finger, although very simple, contained sword principles that were even more profound than the sword intent she had painstakingly cultivated for more than 10 years and mastered more than a year ago. At this moment, Yu Changxiu was deeply lost in thought. Qin Chen didn't expect that his casual finger would bring such a big impact to Yu Changxiu. Good opportunity. And, immediately, he no longer hesitated, his figure swayed, and instantly turned into a stream of light, disappearing into the mountains and forests. Such a good opportunity, why not run? What are you waiting for? Not good. And, as soon as Qin Chen moved, Yu Changxiu also suddenly recovered from the shock, raised her head, and saw Qin Chen's back disappearing into the mountains and forests. Gritting her teeth, she quickly chased after him, but where could she still see Qin Chen's figure? This guy actually ran away. And, lightly biting her red lips, Yu Changxiu felt indescribable in her heart, only with bursts of fear. She had actually lost her mind in the battle just now, which was simply unforgivable. In that state, any Earth realm martial artist could easily kill her. That guy actually didn't take the opportunity to attack me. And, sheathing her sword, Yu Changxiu couldn't understand. If Qin Chen had taken the opportunity to attack her just now, there was a high probability that she would have died on the spot. HMPH, does he think he can escape? And, taking out a formation plate from her body, a trace of cunning flashed in Yu Changxiu's eyes. Like the bewilderment formation of the blood spirit pool, her father also participated in the setting of the formation for the preliminary test of this 5 nations tournament back then. That's why she was able to find Qin Chen's location so easily before. And, it was just that when she activated the formation plate again, the traces of Qin Chen on it had actually disappeared. How is this possible? And, Yu Changxiu fiddled with it left and right, only to realize that the traces of Qin Chen had indeed completely disappeared from the formation plate. Damn it. And, gritting her teeth, Yu Changsu couldn't help but feel resentful. That guy was able to crack the bewilderment formation of the blood spirit pool before, so he must have a certain amount of research on formations. Maybe he has some treasure on him that shields my tracking. Don't let me meet you again next time. And, with a sway of her figure, Yu Changsu disappeared into the mountains and forests. She had already lost the interest in continuing to find Qin Chen. At this moment, in her mind, only the finger that Qin Chen pointed out was constantly lingering. After running wildly for hundreds of miles, Qin Chen stopped. Taking out the teleportation jade plate from his body, Qin Chen curled his lips. Still want to continue tracking me? No way. And he was also very curious about how Yu Changsu was able to track him so quickly before. After thinking carefully, he discovered the problem with the teleportation jade plate, so with a few strokes, he shielded the aura on it. Someone. And, suddenly, Qin Chen raised his head and looked into the depths of the jungle. Who is it? And the other side seemed to have also discovered Qin Chen. Someone shouted in a low voice, and then the bushes parted, and several martial artists walked out from the front. The leader was actually Princess Sixyun. In addition to her, there were also 2 men and 1 woman following behind her. It's you. And, seeing that it was Qin Chen, Princess Sixyun couldn't help but frown. Princess Sixyun, he is a genius from our great Qi kingdom, I think his name is Qin Chen. And the woman said excitedly. But the 2 male martial artists were not so excited, but had a hint of hostility in their eyes. Why are you here? And Princess Sixyun frowned and said, why can't I be here? And Qin Chen touched his nose. The question asked by this Sixyun is really strange. This is a place for training. Isn't it normal for me to appear here? Princess Sixyun seemed to know that her question was a bit problematic, and her expression was quite awkward, but she quickly returned to normal and said, you didn't encounter the martial artists of the Great Wei Kingdom, did you? And Princess Sixyun, he definitely didn't encounter them. Otherwise, how could he still be walking safely in this mountain forest? He would definitely have been killed by the martial artists of the Great Wei Kingdom. And the young man in white suddenly said, with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Princess Sixyun hesitated for a moment and said, Qin Chen, you follow us, it will be safer this way. And Qin Chen smiled and said, thank you, Princess Sixyun, but I am still used to acting alone. And Qin Chen, let's go together. We encountered the martial artists of the Great Wei Kingdom before and almost died. Thanks to Princess Sixyun's help, we survived. You probably don't know that the martial artists of the Great Wei Kingdom are now frantically chasing and killing the martial artists of our Great Qi Kingdom. It will be safer for you to follow us. And the woman beside Princess Sixyun said to Qin Chen. By Jing, Qin Chen, he is a genius who entered the blood spirit pool. Even if he is alone, there will be no problem at all. Qin Chen, right? And the young man in white said again. Qin Chen glanced at the young man in white. He didn't seem to know him, right? Why did he squeeze himself out several times as soon as they met? Is there something wrong with him? Who said that? This mountain forest is so dangerous. Not only are there powerful blood beasts, but also warriors from the Great Wei Kingdom. Since Princess Sixyun is so sincerely inviting me, I, Qin Chen, will reluctantly join. Otherwise, wouldn't that be too disrespectful to Princess Sixyun? Qin Chen touched his nose and said. This guy, with a puff asterisk sound, the white-clothed youth was so angry that he directly spat out blood. This Qin Chen is too shameless, isn't he? Didn't you see Princess Sixyun hesitate for so long when she invited you? Moreover, you clearly said just now that you were used to acting alone, but in the blink of an eye, you agreed to join. This change of heart is too fast, isn't it? That's great. Now there are 2 geniuses in our team who have entered the blood spirit pool. Once we encounter enemies, the 4 of us can hold them back, creating a good fighting environment for Princess Sixyun. Even if we encounter heavenly level blood beasts or powerful warriors from the Great Wei Kingdom, we don't have to worry. Seeing Qin Chen agree, Bai Jing was immediately very happy, her round face full of excitement. Among the few of them, the strongest is Princess Sixyun, who is a powerhouse at the early stage of the heavenly level. Among the remaining three, the strongest is the white-clothed youth, who has reached the peak of the late Earth level, and is even only one step away from the heavenly level. As for her and another youth, although they are also at the peak of the late Earth level, they are much weaker than the white-clothed youth. Now that Qin Chen has joined, although Qin Chen's cultivation is only at the peak of the late Earth level, he is, after all, a genius who has entered the blood spirit pool, and is definitely a force to be reckoned with. In this way, as long as they don't encounter top powerhouses like Nian Wuji from the Ghost Immortal sect, they won't be in any danger. Bai Jing, you're thinking too much. This guy can even get lost while being baptized in the blood spirit pool. What ability could he have? Moreover, entering the blood spirit pool and not even reaching the heavenly level, he even has the nerve to call himself a genius. If it were me entering the blood spirit pool, breaking through to the early stage of the heavenly level would be a piece of cake. The white-clothed youth sneered. He wasn't joking. With his cultivation at the peak of the late Earth level, even half a foot into the heavenly level, as long as he could receive baptism, breaking through to the heavenly level wouldn't really be a problem. Lu Feng, you can't say that. Qin Chen is still young, and it's already amazing that he has such cultivation. Amazing. Only you think he's amazing. I really don't know how this guy was able to enter the blood spirit pool. Maybe he went through some back door. HMPH. Also a member of the Qin family, Qin Feng is the #1 genius of my great Qi kingdom. Compared to Qin Feng, he's just a piece of trash. The white-clothed youth mocked repeatedly. I say, are you sick in the head? Seeing the other party rambling on and on, Qin Chen finally couldn't help but interrupt. What did you say? The white-clothed youth was furious. Sure enough, you're sick in the head. You can't even hear what I'm saying. Qin Chen shook his head. Looks like it's a serious illness. You're the one who's sick in the head. The white-clothed youth jumped up in anger, his eyes fixed on Qin Chen, and he said sharply, make yourself clear. If you don't make yourself clear today, don't blame me for being rude to you. With just you want to be rude to me. Qin Chen sized up the other party. With this kind of stuff, he could crush a bunch of them with one finger. Qin Chen's contemptuous gaze made the white-clothed youth almost go crazy. Boom! The true qi in his body circulated, and a terrifying aura bloomed from his body, fiercely impacting Qin Chen. Trash, have the guts to duel me. Enough. At this time, Princess Sixyun finally spoke, frowning, her eyes indifferent. You are all disciples of the great Qi kingdom. To meet each other is fate. Why be so hostile? Moreover, everyone is training now, and foreign enemies are watching us covetously. You still have the mood for infighting. Princess Sixyun, it's not that I'm being petty, it's that Qin Chen insulted me. The white-clothed youth hurriedly explained. All right. What you said earlier was too harsh. No wonder Qin Chen is unhappy. The white-clothed youth looked depressed, not expecting Princess Sixyun to not help him. He had clearly seen Princess Sixyun frown and look very disgusted when she saw Qin Chen earlier. Why did the situation suddenly change? It must be that Princess Sixyun, as a princess of the Great Qi Kingdom, wants to treat all warriors of the Great Qi Kingdom equally, so as not to be gossiped about. HMPH. I won't argue with a piece of trash. Having figured out the reason, the white-clothed youth calmed down. Qin Chen looked at Princess Sixyun in surprise, not expecting this little girl to actually speak up for him. Did she change her personality? Qin Chen, let me introduce you. This is Princess Sixyun, you should know her. This is Huang Zan, from Xuanyi City. This is Lu Feng, the eldest son of the City Lord's mansion of Baiyu City. Don't mind what happened just now. Actually, Brother Lu Feng has always spoken like that, you'll get used to it. As for me, I'm called Bai Jing, from the Bai family of Tianwu City. The yellow-clothed girl introduced to Qin Chen. Huang Zan nodded slightly, while Lu Feng snorted coldly, not even looking at Qin Chen. Let's go, Princess Sixyun said in a low voice, and the team immediately continued forward. Qin Chen, you're really lucky. We haven't encountered warriors from the Great Wei Kingdom or the Ghost Immortal sect. You don't know, the warriors from the Great Wei Kingdom and the Ghost Immortal sect are very cruel. They're hunting down warriors from our great Qi kingdom everywhere, making us unable to concentrate on hunting blood beasts. Until now, no one has collected enough blood crystals. On the way, Bai Jing enthusiastically chatted with Qin Chen, telling him some things. Qin Chen nodded slightly. Along the way, he knew that although Bai Jing looked quite cute and gentle, she was actually straightforward and kind-hearted. Lu Feng frequently talked with Princess Sixyun. It could be seen that he had a feeling of wanting to pursue Princess Sixyun. In the outer area of this mountain forest, the blood beasts have been cleared relatively sparsely. The group slowly moved forward, deeper into the forest. Here, there were shrubs and thorns everywhere, and the vegetation was very dense, a paradise for blood beasts. Suddenly, a sound came from the bushes, and a wild bull, completely crimson and covered with flame patterns, rushed out. Earth-level intermediate blood beast, flame wild bull, don't let it run away. Bai Jing exclaimed in a low voice. Before she could finish speaking, Lu Feng had already rushed out. His figure was as fast as lightning, his clothes fluttering, and the long sword at his waist was suddenly unsheathed, drawing a dazzling afterimage in the void, and stabbing into the head of the flame wild bull. Poochie. With a soft sound, Lu Feng's long sword was unstoppable, easily piercing into the head of the flame wild bull, ending the life of this earth-level intermediate wild bull with one sword. Brother Lu Feng's 13 slashes of the heavenly song is becoming more and more exquisite. As expected of the ancestral sword technique of the Lu family of Bayou City, piercing the head of the flame wild bull with one sword. Ordinary sword techniques simply can't do this. Huang Zan, who rarely spoke, flattered him, and then stepped forward to dig out the blood crystal from the flame wild bull's body and handed it to Lu Feng. Just an earth-level intermediate blood beast. Lu Feng smiled faintly, his voice carrying disdain, as if he looked down on earth-level intermediate blood beasts, while secretly looking at Princess Sixyun, his posture elegant. Qin Chen couldn't help but laugh. He had only killed a mid-stage earth-rank blood beast, but it felt like he had killed a blood beast king. Was he going overboard with the boasting? He couldn't help but shake his head. This person's temperament was lacking. Although his cultivation wasn't weak for the time being, his future achievements would definitely be limited. Qin Chen, what are you shaking your head for? Seeing Qin Chen shake his head, Lu Feng said with anger on his face. Nothing. Humph. Lu Feng snorted coldly. Qin Chen's attitude and gaze clearly showed that he looked down on him. He should take a piss and look at himself. However, he didn't say anything, and the group continued forward. Next, the group encountered several more blood beasts, all of them mid-stage Earth rank, and even some early-stage Earth rank, which were easily dealt with by the group. If we continue to collect at this rate, we should be able to gather enough blood crystals in 2 days. Bai Jing and the others were very excited. If they were to act alone, the difficulty of collecting enough blood crystals would be like ascending to the heavens. But with the group working together, the efficiency immediately increased tenfold or 100-fold. Especially with a master like Princess Sixyun present, they weren't flustered when encountering any blood beasts and felt very confident. However, we have already gone quite deep. The blood beasts ahead may become stronger and stronger, so everyone must be careful and don't get injured. Most importantly, pay attention to whether there are any warriors from other forces around, Princess Sixyun reminded. Yes, Bai Jing and the others responded. Roar. As soon as they finished speaking, they heard a roar. From the trees ahead, a cyan wolf more than one person tall suddenly walked out. This wolf was covered in scales, with barbs on its back, and its tail was like a steel whip, strong and powerful. Its cold eyes were fixed on the group. Everyone be careful, it's an iron-backed nether wolf, a late-stage Earth-rank blood beast, Princess Sixyun said in a low voice. The iron-backed nether wolf was an extremely terrifying type of Earth-rank blood beast. They were cruel by nature and extremely fast. The key was that the defense was much stronger than ordinary wolf-like blood beasts, making them very frightening. Leave this iron-backed nether wolf to me, Princess Sixyun stepped forward, afraid that Bai Jing and the others would be injured. Princess Sixyun, please wait. At this moment, Lu Feng suddenly chuckled, glanced at Qin Chen to the side, and sneered, Princess Sixyun, don't worry. There seems to be someone here who is enjoying the fruits of others' labor and hasn't made a move. It just so happens that this iron-backed nether wolf isn't very strong, so why not let him handle it? Otherwise, some people are always freeloading, and I don't know where they get the nerve to do so. Qin Chen touched his nose. He was freeloading. When the mid-stage and early-stage Earth-rank blood beasts appeared earlier, Lu Feng, Bai Jing, and the others were very active in the battle. Before he even had a chance to make a move, the battle was already over. Especially Lu Feng, who killed a mid-stage Earth-rank blood beast with each sword strike to show off in front of Princess Sixyun. Now that they encountered a late-stage Earth-rank blood beast, he said he was freeloading and wanted him to step forward and make a move. What a joke. This was clearly trying to trick him. Lu Feng, Qin Chen just broke through to the late-stage Earth rank in the blood spirit pool, and I'm afraid his cultivation isn't very strong. It's too dangerous for him to deal with the iron-backed nether wolf alone. Why don't we all attack together? We are enough to kill an iron-backed nether wolf and don't need Princess Sixyun to help, Bai Jing said with a frown, sensing Lu Feng's intention. Bai Jing, you can't say that. Qin Chen is a genius who entered the blood spirit pool. TSK, only 8 such geniuses were found in the entire Darky Kingdom. What's more, his elder brother is the famous #1 genius of our Darky Kingdom, Qin Feng. If Qin Feng were here, let alone an iron-backed nether wolf, even a group of iron-backed nether wolves would be easily killed. As Qin Feng's younger brother, it should be easy for Qin Chen to kill this iron-backed nether wolf, Lu Feng said sarcastically. Moreover, he glanced at Qin Chen and sneered, Qin Chen hasn't made a move at all along the way. When the time comes, he will still want to share our blood crystals. There's no such easy thing. You keep speaking up for him. Could it be that you've fallen for him? Bai Jing's face turned slightly red, and she said angrily, what nonsense are you talking about? Anyway, I won't make a move. You can make a move yourself. Princess Sixyun, I think you'd better not make a move either. Actually, my purpose is not only to make Qin Chen contribute a bit, but also to know Qin Chen's strength. This way, we will all have an idea in mind when we encounter enemies in the future, so that there won't be any accidents, Lu Feng said eloquently from the perspective of the team. Princess Sixyun's heart stirred. To be honest, apart from Qin Chen defeating Jiang Zheng in the camp before, she really didn't know how strong Qin Chen's cultivation was now. This iron-backed nether wolf was indeed an opportunity for her to understand Qin Chen's strength. Qin Chen, why don't you deal with this iron-backed nether wolf? Are you confident? Princess Sixyun asked, looking at Qin Chen. Lu Feng sneered in his heart. Princess Sixyun had already said so. As a man, Qin Chen wouldn't say that he wasn't confident, right? He would definitely step forward. But even he might not be able to deal with the iron-backed nether wolf easily. If Qin Chen went up, wouldn't he be doomed? Even if Princess Sixyun made a move at that time, it would be good for him to suffer a bit. I'm not confident. You should go. What if I get injured? Qin Chen shook his head repeatedly, looking worried and scared, constantly retreating. PFFT. Lu Feng almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. Was this Qin Chen too spineless? He didn't even have this bit of backbone in front of Princess Sixyun. Was he even a man? Princess Sixyun was also about to be driven crazy. With Qin Chen's cultivation, even if he wasn't a match for the iron-backed nether wolf, he would still have the power to fight. He shouldn't be so timid and have no ability to resist at all. How could Lingshan have taken a fancy to such a cowardly fellow? Qin Chen, are you still a man? Lu Feng sneered, secretly pleased. Now everyone could see this person's true colors, right? If you're a man, you go. Anyway, I'm not going. Qin Chen shook his head repeatedly. What a piece of trash. I heard that Qin Feng once challenged you to a life and death battle in the royal capital, and even agreed to let you use both hands, but you didn't agree in the end. I didn't quite believe it before, but now I finally believe it. You really are a spineless fellow. I'll go. Today, I'll let you see the difference between you, a genius who entered the blood spirit pool, and me. Trash is trash, even if you enter the blood spirit pool, Lu Feng sneered. With a sneer, Lu Feng faced the iron-backed nether wolf and rushed out. He was extremely proud in his heart, preparing to quickly kill the iron-backed nether wolf so that everyone could see who was the real genius. What a pitiful fellow. Qin Chen's eyes flashed with a trace of pity as he watched Lu Feng pounce out. Then he said to Bai Jing beside him, "You be careful for a while." Ah! Bai Jing was stunned. What did Qin Chen mean? With brother Lu Feng's cultivation, dealing with a late-stage Earth-rank iron-backed nether wolf might be a bit troublesome, but what unexpected things could happen? Bai Jing was a little puzzled. Sure enough, under Lu Feng's offensive, the iron-backed nether wolf was quickly injured, with blood spurting from its fur. Oh woo! With a low growl, the iron-backed nether wolf turned and ran. Evil beast, where are you running to? Lu Feng was overjoyed. He originally thought that dealing with the iron-backed nether wolf would take some effort, but he didn't expect this iron-backed nether wolf to be so weak. How could he not seize such an opportunity to show off in front of Princess Sixyun? For a moment, Lu Feng was even a little grateful to Qin Chen. If Qin Chen hadn't been afraid of death and refused to go forward, how could he have had such a good opportunity to perform? With a leap, Lu Feng chased into the forest. But suddenly, his figure froze, as if he had seen something unbelievable, and he quickly retreated. But it was already too late. Oh woo! A sharp howl rang out, and several iron-backed nether wolves suddenly sprang out of the forest. The leading one, with silver scales all over its body, was like a silver moon, pouncing towards Lu Feng. Damn it! Upon seeing this, Princess Sixyun's expression changed drastically, and she rushed up. Clang! Poochie! Lu Feng's chest was slashed open by the silver iron-backed nether wolf's sharp claws, leaving a nearly foot-long wound. Blood spurted out, and he fell to the ground with a pale face. If Princess Sixyun hadn't rescued him in time and the iron-backed nether wolf king had been somewhat apprehensive, that claw would have been enough to tear him in half. Oh woo! Wolf howls echoed, and iron-backed nether wolves walked out of the forest one after another, their eyes cold, surrounding everyone, numbering more than a dozen. At this moment, everyone was stunned, revealing horrified expressions. What's going on? Wasn't there only one iron-backed nether wolf just now? How did so many appear all of a sudden? Moreover, the leading iron-backed nether wolf had silver-white scales all over its body, like metal, exuding a surging aura of blood. It was clearly a heaven-rank blood beast. At this time, under the leadership of the leading iron-backed nether wolf king, more than a dozen iron-backed nether wolves surrounded Qin Chen and the others, with hideous mouths dripping with mucus, and sharp teeth, cruel and fierce. Not good. We're ambushed. These damned beasts, how could I forget this? Princess Sixyun's pupils shrank sharply. Iron-backed nether wolves are very cunning and sinister, and they are also very cruel. They know how to use tactics to deal with human martial artists. The number of human martial artists who die at their hands every year is countless. Previously, seeing only one iron-backed nether wolf, Princess Sixyun thought it was just a lone iron-backed nether wolf, which was why she let Lu Feng go forward. Who knew that this iron-backed nether wolf deliberately came out to lure people, allowing them to chase it and fall into an ambush? If she had attacked herself earlier, she might have already been surrounded by these iron-backed nether wolves. Fortunately, it was Lu Feng who made the move. Lu Feng, are you all right? Brother Lu Feng, how are you? At this moment, Huang Zan and the others all turned pale and felt a chill down their spines. Lu Feng was the strongest among them besides Princess Sixyun. Now that they were surrounded by so many iron-backed nether wolves, if Lu Feng could no longer fight, then everyone would definitely be in greater danger. Qin Chen, you dare to trick me? Turning his head, Lu Feng roared, glaring fiercely at Qin Chen, his eyes twisted. If Qin Chen hadn't retreated, how could he have been ambushed? How would I know there would be so many iron-backed nether wolves? Besides, you were the one who wanted to stand out, so how can you blame me? Touching his nose, Qin Chen said innocently. Seeing Qin Chen's expression, Lu Feng was furious and his lungs were about to explode. All right, it's already come to this. Everyone, stop arguing. Lu Feng, I'll deal with the iron-backed nether wolf king. You deal with the leader wolf with silver spots on its body. Qin Chen, can the few of you hold back the remaining iron-backed nether wolves? Princess Sixyun's expression was solemn, and the knuckles of her hand holding the long sword were white. I have no problem. Turning his head, Lu Feng said in a deep voice. Princess Sixyun, there are 2 leader wolves with silver spots on their bodies. The 3 of us may not be able to hold on. Huang Zan said somewhat nervously. Among the dozen or so iron-backed nether wolves surrounding them, there was a wolf king with a silver-white body, and 2 leader wolves with silver spots, in addition to nearly 10 ordinary iron-backed nether wolves. Letting the 3 of them deal with so many iron-backed nether wolves seemed impossible. Try to delay as much as possible. I will kill the iron-backed nether wolf king as soon as possible and then go to support you. Remember, if you can't hold on, we will all die. Princess Sixyun's expression was calm, and she issued orders very calmly. Qin Chen glanced at Princess Sixyun, his heart stirred. He didn't expect Princess Sixyun to be so righteous and calm in the face of danger. In fact, with Princess Sixyun's cultivation, abandoning everyone and escaping alone would have a survival probability of over 70%. On the contrary, staying behind to fight together like now only has a survival probability of 30% to 40%. Oh woo! As Princess Sixyun gave her instructions, the iron-backed nether wolf king also made arrangements. With a howl, more than a dozen iron-backed nether wolves pounced towards the crowd. A great battle broke out. At this point, no one wasn't fighting desperately, and everyone unleashed their ultimate moves, sparing no effort. Boom! Various saber shadows, sword shadows, fist might, and palm winds scattered everywhere, and the entire forest was instantly filled with smoke and dust. Among them, Princess Sixyun fought the iron-backed nether wolf king alone. The long sword in her hand burst out with amazing brilliance, trying to kill the opponent in the shortest possible time. However, this iron-backed nether wolf king was very cunning and did not confront her head-on. Instead, it used its agile body and powerful speed to maneuver with Princess Sixyun, so that Princess Sixyun's attacks did not achieve much effect. Instead, because of several hasty attacks, she put herself in danger and almost got injured. On the other side, Lu Feng was fighting with a late-stage Earth-rank iron-backed nether wolf leader. He was injured and could only parry frequently, but he could still hold on and was not at a disadvantage. Huang Zan and Bai Jing, on the other hand, were surrounded by nearly 10 iron-backed nether wolves, constantly retreating and unable to support themselves. Originally, with their strength, being able to fight 1 or 2 ordinary iron-backed nether wolves would have been their limit. But now, not only were there nearly 10 ordinary iron-backed nether wolves, but there was also a more powerful iron-backed nether wolf leader, making the 2 exhausted. In the beginning, the 2 wanted to join forces to quickly kill a few ordinary iron-backed nether wolves, but they didn't expect these iron-backed nether wolves to be very cunning and didn't fight them head-on. In addition, the iron-backed nether wolf leader was always looking for opportunities to attack, forcing the 2 to give up their initial idea. For a time, everyone was in danger, and these iron-backed nether wolves were clearly trying to exhaust them to death. This won't work. We're all going to die here. How about this? You guys break through first, and I'll cover your retreat. Seeing this situation, Princess Sixyun said anxiously. These iron-backed nether wolves are too cunning. If things continue like this, they will probably all die. No, we absolutely can't leave. Princess, you should go first, Bai Jing said through gritted teeth. If they were to break through first, although they would have a chance to escape, they would be pushing Princess Sixyun into a desperate situation. Once Princess Sixyun was surrounded by a large number of ironback hellhounds, she would undoubtedly perish. Damn it, the key is that the other ironback hellhound leader is too insidious. If we could kill it, perhaps the pressure would be greatly reduced, Huang Zan also said. Qin Chen, go and lure that ironback hellhound leader away. At this moment, Lu Feng suddenly said with a sinister voice, his tone commanding. No, if that happens, Qin Chen will be in danger, Bai Jing said quickly. Humph, he hasn't contributed anything before. What's wrong with asking him to lure away an ironback hellhound leader now? Do you want to watch us all die here? Lu Feng said unhappily, his voice cold. Besides, it's just luring away an ironback hellhound leader. Qin Chen is a genius who entered the blood spirit pool. Can't he even do this little thing? No matter what, it's absolutely impossible to let Qin Chen lure away the ironback hellhound leader, Bai Jing said angrily. Humph, then you can just obediently die here, Lu Feng snorted coldly, his eyes icy. What kind of time is this? Bai Jing is still so kind. This woman is really brainless. I'll give it a try. Qin Chen took a step forward. If he didn't take action, Bai Jing and the others would probably not be able to hold on any longer. No. You can't deal with the Ironback Hellhound leader, Bai Jing said anxiously. Moreover, do you think you can definitely lure away the Ironback Hellhound leader just because you want to? With the cunning of the Ironback Hellhounds, they will definitely swarm up and kill you first, and then turn around and slowly devour us. Bai Jing, Qin Chen has already agreed. What are you still talking about? Do you want to watch Princess Xixun die here too? Lu Feng shouted angrily. This Bai Jing is simply too idiotic, even saying these words to Qin Chen. In this case, would Qin Chen still be willing to lure away the Ironback Hellhounds? What an idiot! He glared at Bai Jing fiercely, a hint of coldness flashing in his eyes. If he had been a little interested in Bai Jing in the first place, would he have brought her along for training? Now she is repeatedly ruining his good deeds, which is really hateful. I'll lure them away. I cultivate the profound grade low-rank wild goose movement technique. Maybe I can escape the Ironback Hellhound's pursuit, Bai Jing said, gritting her teeth, a hint of determination flashing in her eyes, with the determination to die. Truly courting death, Lu Feng sneered from not far away. The Ironback Hellhounds are best at speed. Ordinary Earth-grade late-stage blood beasts might be able to escape if Bai Jing uses the wild goose movement technique, but facing the Ironback Hellhound leader is no different from sending herself to death. Looking at Bai Jing's death-defying appearance, Qin Chen's heart warmed slightly, and a gentle smile appeared in his eyes. He stepped forward, and an invisible aura bloomed from his body. Clang asterisk. The mysterious iron sword appeared in his hand, and he coldly faced the Ironback Hellhound leader in front of him, saying, Bai Jing, you don't need to lure it away. Just leave this Ironback Hellhound leader to me. Saying that, Qin Chen stepped past Bai Jing and Huang Zan, confronting the Ironback Hellhound leader. Qin Chen, don't be foolish, Bai Jing said anxiously. Qin Chen didn't even dare to attack ordinary Ironback Hellhounds before. How could he possibly be a match for the Ironback Hellhound leader now? However, it was too late when she said that. Seeing that someone dared to provoke it, the Ironback Hellhound leader roared angrily. Its strong limbs slammed on the ground, swoosh asterisk, like a bolt of black lightning, it instantly appeared in front of Qin Chen. A woo, asterisk. It opened its bloody mouth, revealing sharp teeth. Under its cold eyes, its forelimbs claws were like blades, making a rapid whirring sound in the void. The terrifying power transmitted from it could almost blast a mountain peak. A terrifying aura of a blood beast permeated its body. Not good. Qin Chen, retreat quickly. Bai Jing shouted anxiously. This Ironback Hellhound leader had actually gone berserk. In this state, even Lu Feng might not be able to withstand it, let alone Qin Chen. Qin Chen, don't fight it head-on. Princess Xixun also saw this scene and reminded him. Unexpectedly, facing the anxious shouts of the two, Qin Chen turned a deaf ear. His face was expressionless, and instead of retreating, he stepped forward towards the Ironback Hellhound leader. It's over. Bai Jing felt miserable in her heart. She seemed to have already seen the scene of Qin Chen being torn apart by the Ironback Hellhound leader's claws, and couldn't help but close her eyes. PFFT. A woo. The miserable scream of Qin Chen that she had imagined did not come. Instead, Bai Jing heard the Ironback Hellhound leader let out a shrill roar. What happened? Opening her eyes, Bai Jing saw a 2-foot-long wound on the back of the Ironback Hellhound leader. The steel-like hard scales were directly torn open, and blood spurted out, falling to the ground as it howled miserably, staring at Qin Chen with venomous eyes. In contrast, Qin Chen stood calmly in place, a drop of blood sliding off the iron sword in his hand. How is this possible? Bai Jing opened her mouth wide, unable to believe what she was seeing. What exactly happened just now? How could Qin Chen not be injured, but the Ironback Hellhound leader was seriously injured instead? Not far away, Huang Zan and Lu Feng were also stunned, their eyeballs bulging round, almost falling to the ground. They saw with their own eyes that Qin Chen dodged the Ironback Hellhound leader's attack with a sideways step, and the rusty sword in his hand gently slashed, creating a wound on the Ironback Hellhound leader's back, as easily as cutting melons and vegetables. Lu Feng was so shocked that he was about to go crazy. This was the Ironback Hellhound leader, whose speed was extremely fast, approaching the strength of an early-stage heaven-grade expert. Even he had to do his best to dodge it. Moreover, the Ironback Hellhound leader's defense was very terrifying. He could only cut out a few inches of wound with a full-strength sword, but Qin Chen cut out a 2-foot-long wound with a gentle slash. What exactly is going on? Lu Feng was dumbfounded, completely unaware of what was happening. A woo. Asterisk. Those ordinary Ironback Hellhounds who were besieging Huangzan and Bai Jing heard their leaders howl, and one by one they shifted their targets, howling sharply, and instantly pounced on Qin Chen. In an instant, at least 4 or 5 Ironback Hellhounds pounced on Qin Chen from all directions. Qin Chen, be careful. Bai Jing's heart was raised again, and she cried out in alarm. Swoosh. But before she could finish her words, she saw a flash of sword light. PFFT. 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 Asterisk. The necks of the 5 Ironback Hellhounds spurted blood at the same time, and the cold eyes showed fear as they fell heavily to the ground, losing their life force. One sword. 5 Ironback Hellhounds died. This. Everyone was shocked and stunned. One sword to kill 5 Ironback Hellhounds. Is this Qin Chen really human? Is he really just a late-stage Earth-grade martial artist? Okay. With 5 down, the rest will be easier. His gaze fell on the iron-backed nether wolf leader, and Qin Chen muttered to himself. Now that his cultivation had reached the late-stage peak of the Earth realm, his strength was far beyond what it used to be. How could he not be able to kill even an iron-backed nether wolf at the late-stage peak of the Earth realm with a single sword? The reason he had only seriously injured the iron-backed nether wolf leader earlier was to attract other ordinary iron-backed nether wolves to attack, so as to save his own energy. Now that he had killed 5 ordinary iron-backed nether wolves with one sword, there were only 4 ordinary iron-backed nether wolves left to deal with Bai Jing and the others, making things much easier. The previously seriously injured iron-backed nether wolf leader was also stunned at this moment. Seeing Qin Chen staring intently, it let out a low growl and was about to retreat. Want to escape? With a stride, Qin Chen instantly appeared in front of the iron-backed nether wolf leader, and the iron sword in his hand stabbed out again. The iron-backed nether wolf leader's cold eyes suddenly shrank, and it tilted its head, abruptly moving to the side, trying to dodge Qin Chen's attack. But it was fast, and Qin Chen's sword was even faster. Poochie. As if it had eyes, the iron sword in Qin Chen's hand suddenly pierced into the head of the iron-backed nether wolf leader. The long sword was pulled out, and a stream of blood spurted out. The iron-backed nether wolf leader widened its terrified eyes, staring at Qin Chen in front of it, its eyes filled with fear, and finally its life force dissipated. Bai Jing and the others stood there blankly, completely dumbfounded. Even the iron-backed nether wolf leader couldn't dodge Qin Chen's sword. How terrifying was Qin Chen's cultivation? It was ridiculous that they had previously thought Qin Chen was weak. Next up, it's you guys. Turning his head, Qin Chen looked at the remaining 4 ordinary iron-backed nether wolves, and with a flicker of his figure, he swept into the battle. Poochie, 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 poochie. 4 sounds of blades entering flesh were heard, and the 4 ordinary iron-backed nether wolves simultaneously let out a wail, and then fell to the ground, breathing their last. You two are safe now. Take out the blood crystals, step back a bit, and be careful not to be injured by the enraged iron-backed nether wolf king. Qin Chen said, looking back at Bai Jing and Huangzan. The 2 of them had dazed expressions, completely stunned, their eyes wide, and their hearts were greatly shocked. In a short period of time, the 2 of them went from a life and death crisis to being safe and sound. This change of state was too fast, so that the 2 of them couldn't even react for a moment. How long had it been? Including an iron-backed nether wolf leader, 9 ordinary iron-backed nether wolves had all died in Qin Chen's hands. Even an early-stage Heaven Realm warrior couldn't do that, right? Could it be that Qin Chen's strength was even stronger than an early-stage Heaven Realm warrior? The 2 of them were startled and couldn't calm down. While the 2 of them were shocked, Lu Feng was horrified. Before, he had been provoking Qin Chen, claiming that Qin Chen's cultivation was not as good as his and that he was not his opponent. But now, Looking at it, others were not inferior to him at all, but simply didn't bother to pay attention to him. Qin Chen, thank you for your help. Before, Huang Zan said with shame on his face, realizing the situation and speaking uneasily. His attitude towards Qin Chen had been very bad before, but now Qin Chen had actually saved him, and he was naturally very ashamed. No need to mind it, we are all a team. Qin Chen smiled, not taking it to heart at all. Saving Huang Zan was just a matter of convenience, not taking much effort. Moreover, although the other party's attitude towards him was not very good, at least he didn't constantly speak coldly like Lu Feng. Qin Chen, quickly go and save Lu Feng and Princess Sixyun, the two of them can't hold on any longer. Bai Jing hurriedly said. Sure enough, a violent roar came from the side. Turning his head, he saw that the iron-backed Nether Wolf King fighting with Princess Sixyun had completely gone mad at this time. The silver-white scales all over its body shone with dazzling light, and an astonishing aura soared into the sky. Its speed and strength soared in an instant, and its eyes locked onto Princess Sixyun, launching a fierce attack. Seeing its subordinates die in the blink of an eye, this iron-backed Nether Wolf King had already gone mad. Not only the iron-backed Nether Wolf King, but also the iron-backed Nether Wolf Leader, which had also gone berserk at this time. On its black scales, there seemed to be layers of red light, and for a time, it became extremely fierce. Originally, although Lu Feng was injured, he was not at a disadvantage in fighting the iron-backed Nether Wolf Leader, but at this time, he immediately retreated repeatedly. Carelessly, he was once again struck by the iron-backed Nether Wolf Leader, and he spat out blood with a poochy sound. If he hadn't dodged in time, this claw would probably have torn him in half in an instant. Qin Chen, hurry up and come save me. Lu Feng shouted loudly with a slightly flustered expression. At the critical moment of life and death, he couldn't care about losing face or not. Qin Chen glanced at Lu Feng in surprise. Save him. This Lu Feng was too thick-skinned, right? He had been nagging at him before, constantly wanting to plot against him, but now that he was in danger, he actually wanted him to save him. There was actually such a thick-skinned person in this world. Qin Chen, you and I are both geniuses of the Great Qi Kingdom. I had a bad attitude towards you before, but I just wanted to test how your cultivation was, and there was no malice. Seeing that Qin Chen was unmoved, Lu Feng became even more anxious. At this time, a sharp pain came from the wound on his body, his feet slipped, and Poochie, he was once again struck in the chest by the iron-backed Nether Wolf Leader, spurting out blood. Didn't you say that I was just a waste, and wanted to let me see where the gap between you and me lies? Well, I'll just watch from the side. You perform slowly, I'm not in a hurry. Qin Chen said with a smile, slowly and leisurely. You. Lu Feng was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Damn guy, let you be proud for a while, I'll make you look good later, Lu Feng thought viciously in his heart, but said in his mouth, Qin Chen, it was my fault before, I admit it. But everyone is a genius of the Great Qi Kingdom, you can't just stand by and watch, and Princess Sixyun is also here. Oh, if you didn't say it, I would have forgotten. Qin Chen said with a faint smile. How could he not see the resentment in Lu Feng's eyes? He was too lazy to pay attention to this kind of villain. Then, he stopped talking nonsense with Lu Feng, gently swept over to Princess Sixyun's side, and said, Princess Sixyun, do you need my help? What do you think? Princess Sixyun was also startled by Qin Chen's strength before. At this time, she was in a mess by the berserk iron-backed Nether Wolf King. Seeing that Qin Chen was still in the mood to chat with her, she was almost about to explode with anger. Get out of the way. Qin Chen was just teasing a little, and then he had already rushed up with the rusty sword in his hand. Sure. The rusty iron sword at this time actually transformed into a dazzling streamer, with sharpness, slashing away. Seeing Qin Chen take action, the iron-backed Nether Wolf King's eyes became solemn. Before, it also saw the scene where Qin Chen killed 5 of its subordinates with one sword. In a rage, it did not retreat but advanced, its steel-like silver tail shook Princess Sixyun back, and then roared, pouncing towards Qin Chen. Boom! Its whole body bloomed with silver light, with terrible power, pouring out everywhere. Qin Chen, be careful. Princess Sixyun's pupils shrank suddenly, and she hurriedly shouted. This iron-backed nether wolf king was too cunning. The reason why it went berserk was simply to lure Qin Chen over, and then assassinate him. Now, Qin Chen was indeed lured here, and it wanted to kill Qin Chen to revenge its kind. This iron-backed dark wolf king is really too cunning. Qin Chen, be careful, retreat quickly, don't fight this iron-backed dark wolf king head-on. This iron-backed dark wolf king is too strong, you are not its match. Princess Sixyun shouted, wanting to rush up to rescue him, and at the same time said, Qin Chen, you only need to hold it back, and I will deal with the rest. No need. But Qin Chen didn't listen to Princess Sixyun, but lightly shouted, and then took a small step forward. This scene made Princess Sixyun anxious, and everyone else's heart jumped to their throats. What does Qin Chen want to do? The iron-backed Dark Wolf King deliberately went berserk before to attract him, and then launch a peerless kill on him. Doesn't he see it? This is the iron-backed Dark Wolf King after going berserk. Even Princess Sixyun had a hard time resisting it before, and was a little overwhelmed, yet he still doesn't retreat but advances. However, at this time, they couldn't intervene at all. Even Princess Sixyun couldn't make it in time, and could only watch Qin Chen and the iron-backed Dark Wolf King constantly approaching, and then instantly intertwined together. Whoosh! Brilliant sword light and the iron-backed Dark Wolf King's sharp claws simultaneously cut through the sky, and then the man and the beast intertwined and landed on the ground at the same time. The air instantly became silent, and everyone stared blankly at this scene. What happened? Was Qin Chen injured? With their cultivation, they couldn't see what happened just now. Only Princess Sixyun, with her eyes wide open and her mouth agape, stood there, her eyes revealing shock. Poochie. A nearly foot-long bloody gash appeared on the iron-backed Dark Wolf King's back, and blood spurted out from it. The wound was about several inches deep, and even the flesh inside could be seen. On the other hand, Qin Chen was unscathed. Qin Chen actually had the upper hand, and even injured the iron-backed Dark Wolf King. Bai Jing and the others gasped, their faces filled with shock that they couldn't conceal. Princess Sixyun fought the iron-backed Dark Wolf King for a long time before, but failed to leave many wounds on it. Unexpectedly, as soon as Qin Chen made a move, the iron-backed Dark Wolf King was injured. Doesn't this mean that Qin Chen's cultivation is even stronger than Princess Sixyun? How is this possible? Everyone couldn't believe it. Princess Sixyun is a veteran genius of the Great Qi Kingdom, and was already famous in the Great Qi Kingdom several years ago. This time, she broke through to the early stage of the Heaven Realm in one fell swoop during the Blood Spirit Pool baptism, and is one of the top 10 geniuses in the entire Northwest 5 nations. But what about Qin Chen? Although he is famous, he rose too late. It was only in the last few months that people began to hear his name. And in the Blood Spirit Pool baptism, he only broke through to the late stage of the Earth Realm. Compared with Princess Sixyun, the gap between the two is obvious even to an idiot. But now, even Princess Sixyun gasped, somewhat unable to believe her eyes. Oh woo! The iron-backed Silver Wolf King was injured, and the ferocity in its eyes was even heavier. It stared at Qin Chen, its eyes filled with deep resentment. With a long howl, the aura on its body became even more surging. Boom! A soaring aura of a blood beast rushed out from its body, startling the entire mountain forest to rustle, and even wisps of silver-white light continuously bloomed on its body surface, like a demon. Ka ka ka! Deadly scarlet rainbow light shot out from its eyes, staring at Qin Chen. This is secondary berserk transformation. Princess Sixyun gasped, unable to help but exclaim in shock. Berserk transformation is an ability possessed by some blood beasts. Generally, it is to stimulate the blood energy to a certain extent, so that their strength is greatly increased. Although there are not many blood beasts that can do this, there are still quite a few. But on top of berserk transformation, there are also some blood beasts that can undergo secondary berserk transformation. These types of blood beasts generally have amazing talent, and when they grow up, they can become the king of a mountain forest. And this iron-backed Dark Wolf King actually underwent a secondary berserk transformation after the berserk transformation. In this way, its strength will reach an unprecedented level, several times stronger than at the beginning. Qin Chen, quickly, we join forces, we must hold on until the iron-backed Dark Wolf King's secondary berserk transformation ends. Generally, secondary berserk transformation can only last for a moment. As long as we get through it, we will win. Princess Sixyun's face was solemn, and she shouted anxiously. At the same time, her body faintly flashed with light, which was the power of her bloodline, beginning to activate. No need, just leave it to me. Qin Chen grinned, and took another step towards the iron-backed Dark Wolf King. Bai Jing and the others were completely dumbfounded. What did Qin Chen want to do? Did he want to fight the iron-backed Dark Wolf King alone? This was the iron-backed Dark Wolf King after secondary berserk transformation. Not allowing them to be shocked, Qin Chen had already told Bai Jing and the others what he wanted to do. His figure leaped, like a bolt of lightning, and swept towards the iron-backed Silver Wolf King. Seeing this scene, Bai Jing and the others were completely stunned, their hearts trembling wildly. Oh woo! Seeing that Qin Chen dared to take the initiative to attack it, the iron-backed Dark Wolf King became even more violent. Its blood-colored eyes were filled with ferocity and coldness, like a demon from hell. With a roar, it rushed out like black lightning, and on its sharp claws, terrifying light bloomed, tearing and biting towards Qin Chen. Qin Chen, you. Princess Sixyun was about to go crazy, her heart seemed to have stopped beating. Was it so difficult for this guy to join forces with her? Why did he have to go up and die alone? Who did he think he was? Biting her teeth, a trace of determination flashed in Princess Sixyun's eyes, she stomped her foot fiercely and rushed up as well. Hee, this iron-backed Dark Wolf King's defense and speed are indeed more powerful than I imagined. Just now, that sword only left a wound on its body, but this sword won't be so lucky. While flying, a faint smile appeared on the corner of Qin Chen's mouth, and then at the moment when he was about to collide with the iron-backed Dark Wolf King, he suddenly drew his sword. Whoosh! It seemed as if a silver light flashed, and it seemed as if nothing had happened. Qin Chen and the iron-backed Dark Wolf King crossed each other again and landed on the ground. Silence. Deathly silence. Bai Jing raised her hand to cover her mouth, and fear was revealed in her eyes. Qin Chen, did he die? Princess Sixyun also stopped and stared blankly at the front. Why was Qin Chen so idiotic, insisting on making a move alone? Drip. A sound of water droplets suddenly sounded, and everyone saw that on the rusty sword in Qin Chen's hand, a drop of blood had fallen at some point, falling on the rock. Bai Jing's eyes suddenly shone with light. The iron-backed Dark Wolf King was injured. Did Qin Chen injure it again? Before this doubt could fall, everyone saw that a gash had suddenly cracked open in the center of the iron-backed Dark Wolf King's brow, and blood flowed down from it. Immediately, the iron-backed Dark Wolf King's body fell heavily to the ground, and there was no more sound. It had become a corpse. The iron-backed Dark Wolf King was dead.